Well, the PS6 is once again in the headlines, which is weird given that we're just now entering the halfway point of the PS5. But given what we're hearing, the halfway point may be moving. We are now hearing that the timeline for the PlayStation 6 could be moving back once again. And yes, this is because of the nonsense with the RAM and now hard drives apparently, but this opens up a whole host of questions. We are also now seeing, and this just sort of started taking place this morning, the leakers are fighting, sort of. There's two, sort of renowned, trusted, and reliable leakers, Kepler and Moore's Law is Dead. A bit of a back and forth brewing on Twitter about, will this PS6 have RDNA5, and is it going to be a full or a custom or whatever? We're going to be talking about that as well. But the questions that sort of come from this, I think, are valid. What does this mean for current games in development? How long can the PS5 gen truly go? What about Project Amethyst and the contracts with AMD? And what about this PSSR 2 update that we have heard so much about? Will Microsoft attempt to leverage Project Magnus in a different way than maybe they originally planned if they can get such a big head start, if they're actually maybe somehow able to launch this significantly far in advance to the new date that we're hearing for the PS6, well, the potential date? Will the PS6 be outdated on arrival, like when it finally holds up or shows up? I actually have an answer to that about the outdated thing specifically, but also what about the PlayStation 6 handheld? And is this ultimately better for PS5 owners, or could it spell trouble as the tech in the base model of the PS5 gets outdated? Well, we're going to discuss all of that today. And I'd like to say that if I end up being right about the PS5 being extended and the PlayStation 6 landing later than many were expecting, I actually said this a couple of years ago, it's not going to be for the reasons that I originally thought. A couple of years ago, folks started throwing out the date of 2027. They were basically saying, listen, we're used to a 7-year life cycle for these consoles. And I said, I actually think this cycle is going to be quite a bit longer. I said anywhere from 8 to 9 years, making it land in like 2028 or 2029. Given what happened with COVID and the pandemic and the chip shortage, I was like, maybe they even try and go for 10 years this time. But then we started hearing about production plans and contracts that were going to basically have the PlayStation 6 entering into production in 2027. And I thought, okay, well, then I guess we're looking at, 2028 maybe, because 2027 felt too soon. I could see them sort of pulling a Nintendo. We know that Nintendo did this with the Nintendo Switch 2. They sort of pushed back the release date by a year or so. They wanted to meet demand. Well, Sony could easily do the same thing with production starting for the PlayStation 6 in 2027, but then they could be shipping the following year. Currently hearing holiday of, 2028. Well, now that window could be slipping. Excuse me. And pulling from GameIndustry.biz, this is what they said. They said people familiar with the company's thinking told Bloomberg that Sony may be pushing back the release date of its PlayStation console, the next one, to 2028 or even 2029, causing major upset to a carefully orchestrated strategy to sustain user engagement between hardware generations. Now, Bloomberg also reported that Nintendo is considering a price increase due to everything kind of happening in the marketing right now. Back in December, the EVP of Micron told Bloomberg that, quote, this is the most significant disconnect between demand and supply in terms of magnitude as well as time horizon that we have experienced in 25 years in the industry. This person was speaking to their own experience of those 25 years. Now, others are saying that this is just not a short-term fluctuation. This is going to be something that sort of carries on for quite a while. Now, this is likely why we are hearing about future hardware plans being in flux. So I want to consider some of the biggest questions here. If the PS6 does in fact take longer to come to the market, whether that happens in 2028, 2029, or beyond, it leads to a lot of questions. First and foremost, what about the planned games for the system? Well, from where I sit, the cross-gen period, which is the period of time where games are going to be shipping for both the PS5 and the PS6, I actually think that time was going to be longer anyway. We have good reason to think this. There was Mark Cerny speaking about Project Amethyst. I think that's a good place to start. It's clear that Sony was not targeting a big big raw power leap, but they were instead wanting to leverage more AI in the way that they already have on the PS5 Pro. Now, I've argued previously that this will create more cartilage between the generations, giving devs plenty of reason to keep building games for the PS5 while also leveraging the technology in the Pro as well as the future PS6 to increase things like resolution, lighting, overall image quality. Cerny himself told Digital Foundry that we need to start talking about games differently with respect to focusing less on raw numbers like resolution and speak more to the realm of image quality. Now, after experiencing the visual lift from ray tracing global illumination in a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows, I definitely agree that image quality and lighting are deserving of more focus, especially as we just saw there. When you can deliver that visual lift and maintain 60 frames per second, I think it is transformative to a way that the game looks and feels. So I don't think the PS6 getting pushed back would have much of an effect on games currently in development, especially since the dev kits are likely not circulating yet. Now, once they are, the only real game timelines that would be affected would be maybe the 1 or 2 PlayStation 6 exclusives that would potentially have in the pipeline. Games like Returnal, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Demon's Souls Remake. Well, those were PS5 exclusives in the launch year of the PlayStation 5. But looking at how the leap on the PlayStation 6 will be more about AI and things like ray tracing, I don't see there being as many games that are going to be focusing on just building for the PS6. Now, this is related to another aspect of this. The PS5 market saturation is on pace to be very strong. That is without GTA 6 releasing. That's without Call of Duty finally dropping the PS4. That has not happened yet. Once that happens, there will be a very big surge for the PS5. Now, that's a perfectly good reason to keep making games for the PlayStation 5. If you're sitting on over 100 to 120 million consoles in circulation, well, you're not going to want to just leave those people out. There was just an interview with the High on Life devs. They indicated that the PS5 was their main platform of focus. Now, that's something that I said for a long time was going to happen. I said, listen, PlayStation will become the de facto console because they were targeting what developers wanted. I said that the PS5 Pro would kind of be another push in that direction. It would be sort of disruptive within the industry because PlayStation stopped worrying so much about just appealing to gamers. They also wanted to appeal to developers. That's kind of how you win this fight. If you've got people preferring your console, the games will perform better there. They will land there first. They will maybe even skip the other platforms. We're seeing this happen with more and more games. But this leads to other questions. How long can the PS5 gen really go? Won't the hardware become outdated? Given that even Valve currently pointed to how their own user base is on PCs that are weaker than the impending Steam Machine, which the Steam Machine is going to be slightly weaker than the PS5. Imagine the Steam Machine coming into the market in 2026, and it's slightly weaker than a console that's 6 years old. Well, I don't think that's a concern then for the PS5 or the Steam Machine. If anything, it can relieve some of that pressure for devs to just keep pushing graphics and fidelity. That's commonly something that is frustrating within the gen life cycle of consoles, is that the new hardware starts to come out, the developers start pushing whatever the new stuff is, whatever the new power thresholds are, and then the games start performing less than ideal. An extended period of time where devs can just sort of dig down deep and make great games for mid-level PCs or the PS5, I think that is certainly something that would not bother me. They can lean on good innovation and game ideas versus graphical gimmicks or other things that are already starting to fall by the wayside. But another question is looming on the horizon because PlayStation's not the only person thinking about their hardware and their strategy going forward. What about Project Magnus and their plans from Microsoft? Much like PlayStation and Nintendo, Microsoft has to deal with the shifting hardware landscape. AMD seemed to indicate that recently they were already going to be ready to support shipping the next Xbox in 2027. Now, that doesn't mean that they will ship, it just means that they're going to be ready. Now, I personally do not think that Microsoft will want to scale or leverage that advantage to jump back in the hardware fight. That's a lot of scale and production that they're probably not planning on doing given their current status. Considering everything that we've said and everything that they have said, and we've heard about the next Xbox, it will not be at a price point where they're going to be hitting levels of scale needed to go toe-to-toe with Nintendo and PlayStation. Even more so when you consider just how much the Xbox hardware momentum has slowed down this generation. I don't see them wanting to scale up production and try to beat PlayStation or try to sell more copies of the Xbox Magnus. That doesn't seem to be their goal, and at the price point it's going to land at, I don't think it'll be a real contender in that fight. But the most important question is, will this mean that the PS6 is outdated when it finally shows up? No, I don't think so. The entire market is being affected by this, and I think Sony's forward thinking with Project Amethyst and AMD and using more AI and not focusing purely on a big hardware leap, that will actually protect them from the PlayStation 6 being outdated at launch. Well, why do I think that? Well, that's just more time to develop the neural arrays and the software elements and what the PS6 is going to offer. Maybe even better versions of PSSR, which we have our first clue that they can do this with the rumored PSSR 2.0 that is coming to the PS5 Pro. You need to think about that. The PS5 Pro is allegedly about to get better with an update to PSSR. That update is coming from FSR 4, which was one of the first major results from the Project Amethyst relationship with AMD. This means if they have extra time before the PS6 releases, they can improve whatever versions of PSSR and other AI or neural processing that they have been developing. In other words, I want you to imagine the PS5 Pro got delayed to the summer of this year, and when it landed, it came with a baked-in version of PSSR 2.0. Well, that would have been a better version of the console than the version that has already shipped. This is why leaning on software and AI and image quality lift isn't future-proof, but it certainly helps when types of things like this happens with shifting timelines. Currently, I have heard that holiday 2028 is still the current timeline for the PlayStation 6, which has also been when I predicted it would land when we started hearing about production starting in 2027. But much like what happened with the Nintendo Switch 2, these timelines can shift, and it can actually happen basically all the way up to when they finally decide to announce it. They could essentially sit for a really long time and not make any major changes to the timeline until it's like the day or month before that it's time to announce the PlayStation 6. So for now, it's a definite maybe, which is a hilarious oxymoron, but it's a definite maybe that the PS6 could land further out than some are now expecting. Now, before I talk about why I don't think that's bad news, there's also a brewing debate between Moore's Law is Dead and Kepler on Twitter about the phrase that the PlayStation 6 will not have full RDNA5 or whatever phrasing you want to use. Now, Moore's Law is Dead's being a little cagey and defensive about his reporting, saying that, listen, they're calling it RDNA5 internally. That's how they're referring to it, okay? The reason he's saying this is we went through this before with the PlayStation 5. Everybody ran with the headlines that it's not RDNA, it's not going to have it, and then it ended up having a custom version of it, and then the PS5 outperformed the Series X in many instances, surprising even Digital Foundry, because leading up to the release, it sounded like the PlayStation 5 was going to get basically left in the dust. Essentially, there's two ways of phrasing it. You could say that it's not going to have full RDNA5 support, or that it's going to have custom RDNA5 support, and that seems to be the real difference here. Like, which headline do you think is going to get more clicks, right? So I think Moore's Law is Dead is sort of seeing the beginning of what exactly happened last gen, where people started running with this idea that, like, oh, it's not going to be as good, it's not going to be as strong, it's not going to have full RDNA, and he's like, but they're not calling it that. They're actually referring it to it as if it has it. It just isn't going to have the full suite. As they did with the PS5, they're going to make it custom. That I think gave the PS5 some advantages this gen that a lot of people seemingly forgot to cover in all of their bluster and all of their pomp before the thing came out, decrying it as going to be like weaker than the Series X and that the Series S was going to run circles around it. Yeah, well, that didn't happen. So when we're looking at this and when we're looking at how this is coming and the PlayStation 6 could land further and further out than when we originally expected, I actually don't think this is bad news. From where I sit, this can only benefit the customer. As long as PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Pros are available and the price doesn't get absolutely insane, I think we can only benefit from the waiting. We're going to get more games for the PS5. that will likely be leveraging the power of the PS5 in a better way, getting better at optimization, better at performance, and especially if you have the Pro, the PSSR can continue to update all the way up until when the PS6 finally releases. And then any of the technology they're putting in the PlayStation 6 can only improve on a software side because they can continue to refine it and improve it and make it better, so that way it's more worth the purchase when it does finally come out. But those are just my thoughts. And now it's time to hear your thoughts. You can do that in the comment below, or make sure you're here for those live streams to discuss it with me, which is what we're going to do right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for enduring a 15-minute show open. Do me a favor and hit that like button. Get us our first 100 likes over there on YouTube. Someone in chat says Rip Horizon 3. In that case, if it's meant for the PS6. No, I don't think so. I really don't think there's a danger here because we know that most of the titles that would come out would be cross-gen supported anyway. I do not think that Horizon 3 would leave behind the PS5. You know, if the PS5 gen is coming to a close around the time that it finally does come to a close, and you're looking at, 120 million or so in circulation, which I think is very reasonable. I think they're going to easily get to where the PlayStation 4 got. PlayStation 5's being at that level of market saturation, you are not simply going to take big, huge games like that and just leave behind the old gen, especially given everything we know about the Decima engine. The Decima engine is very scalable. It's very, very good at working on weaker hardware. They've proven this with there was a gaming laptop that they tested Death Stranding 1 on, and I think the Decima engine's very agile with respect to working on weaker power. So I don't think they're going to be like, oh, we definitely can't build Horizon 3 for the PlayStation 5. You also have to consider something. They're working on Horizon 3 right now, from what we've been told. Well, they don't have dev kits for the PS6 yet. So that would mean that they're developing it for the PS5 right now. Like, there's tons of games in production at this current moment, and those games are being built on PS5 dev kits. Now, I do have somebody to thank. Sal started the day. Han shot first, and so did you. We are behind on pace. If you guys can get this to 500, you unlock the Saturday segment with Madam. Stretch goal this week, you can make Madam and I play Reanimal. It's a fun little creepy co-op game that could be, I think, a really good time. So make sure and get your renewals going. That will be extremely helpful in getting that goal for the week. Renewals count, primes count, they all count. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, A-Ocean Blue and Sucker, Butcher Punch, and Wired Rope, and Moonlight Magic and Gangs, everybody over there on Purple. And thank you so much again for the strong turnout over here on YouTube. We did run a PlayStation 6 piece over the weekend about how it sounded like it's going to get a little bit more expensive as well. It would be cool if most devs got a full year to work on the next consoles before they get announced. Of course, it won't happen, though. Companies love to rush things out. Well, I don't think it's that companies love to rush things out. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Did you feel like Demon's Souls Remake, Returnal, and Ratchet & Clank were rushed? Those were games that came out in the first year that the PS5 came out, and I don't think any of those games felt rushed or low quality. They're being on PC. Lono, look at what SE revealed. All games are now PC. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Look at what you're saying. All games are now PC. That's not true. There's plenty of games that are not on PC right now. Plenty of games that are not on PC in the coming months. I'm not sure what you mean. All games are not on PC. Listen, there's plenty of reasons to be on PC, but state the real reasons. Don't fabricate fake reasons about why PC is great. PC is great for a larger indie and AA studio library in Steam. You don't have to pay for the online. You get access to tons of early access games. You can do lots of customization in your settings and mods and things like that. I've never quite understood why pro PC guys always have to pontificate as if the system is getting more than it is. I don't know. They're a dev on PC lead, like Square said. Yeah, but PC's not the preferred platform for everybody. I mean, the guy from High on Life just said that PS5 was the default console. We've had other studios come out and say similar things. I think you're oversimplifying and honestly misrepresenting what's actually going on. Again, there are plenty of reasons to prefer PC as opposed to your fabricated ones. You're just making things up to be yeah, everything's going to PC. Everybody's preferring PC. That isn't true at all. There's been plenty of evidence to the contrary. And we're seeing tons of developers decide that they're only going to ship on PC, and that's not because they don't like Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation. It's a cost evaluation. They're not like, oh, PC's better. It's easier for them to develop and get virality on Steam than it is on the Nintendo platform or the PlayStation platform. There's plenty of cost and market analysis that goes into these decisions. It's not like every developer is preferring one platform over another. I mean, that would be like taking the High on Life headline and being like, yep, see, everybody's preferring PlayStation. That would be dishonest. That's why I didn't say that in my open. That's why I'm not saying it now, because it's not true. Taking one preference from one studio or one company does not represent Sony's goals, and it doesn't represent the market at large. I think that's an intentional misrepresentation. So, yeah. I think there's plenty of reasons to choose all the platforms. You just have to make it the real reasons and not ones that you make up in your little, wherever you're getting these talking points. Well, I'm most likely going to try to be an early adopter if I'm lucky enough. I'm also not in a hurry to spend upwards of $700. If anything, I'm a little worried about specs being old when it comes out. Yeah, I spoke to that at the tail end of the show open. I don't think that's going to be an issue for the PlayStation 6, because I don't think the PlayStation 6 goal is a huge raw power jump. The goal is to have really, really good neural arrays and ray tracing and PSSR and upscaling. Those are things that can be improved at a software level, as we're going to see with the PSSR update very, very soon. Bumble Pants with 41 months. Let's put that up there. Someone talked to that PC guy about GTA 6. That's what I mean. I think listing the reasons that PC is good and worthwhile is better than making things up, acting like Square Enix represents the market at large. That would be just as disingenuous as doing it with the High on Life devs. Like when they said what they said about PS5. That doesn't represent the entire market. There are plenty of people that have their preferences within development, and it doesn't mean that they represent every developer. More time Cerny has, the better it'll be. PS6 looks weak, RDNA 4.5. There's no such thing as what you just said, so I'm not sure where you're pulling that from. Seems like a repeat of history, though. We're seeing that it won't have full RDNA5, and everybody's going to run with, it's going to be weaker. Do we need to pull all the receipts on what people did with the Xbox Series X versus the PS5 and this RDNA nonsense, and how the PS5 has been the clear winner, has consistently outperformed, and we never saw any evidence of the Series S running circles? I mean, do we need to do this again, really? It's just such a repeat of history, and not history, but stupid history. Let's just continue to say things that you have nothing right now to go on other than what Kepler said, and all Kepler is saying is it's not full RDNA. That doesn't mean it's not going to be the exact same scenario with PS5, where they're going to strip features out, give you basically a custom version of RDNA, and then that's going to empower them to have something that's either less bloated or more efficient for what they're developing. The idea that people want to ride that merry-go-round of stupidity one more time, to be like, yeah, see, ha ha ha, and it's how'd that go the last time? The weird sort of quickness to cheer against or for something before it's even in the market based off of hardware leaks, when it didn't go that well the last time. I don't know why anybody wants to take another ride on that merry-go-round. I just don't. Denver Miller with 13 months. Thank you so much, Member Plus. I was going to skip the PS5 Pro and wait for the 6. I may just pop for a Pro soon. Let me add you to the total. Thank you so much, Denver Miller. We're not getting Horizon 3 this gen. Did somebody tell you that? Why would you think that? The Horizon Forbidden West came out, 4 years ago? And if this gen goes all the way, if this gen goes for 3 more, let's say this gen goes for 2 or 3 more years, so that would be, you think they're going to take longer than 7 or 8 years to make Horizon 3? I don't think there's any reason to think that. I think that's absurd to think. They're definitely close to shipping Horizon Hunter's Gathering. That's for certain. They put a lot of work into that. But we also know that they were working on Horizon 3. They had confirmed Horizon 3 was in production and coming. I don't think it's going to take them longer than 7 to 8 years to make Horizon 3. I think that would be insane. I don't know. I think they've proven to be pretty efficient within the Decima engine, as well as going from one game to the next. They got a live service game to focus on now. Yeah, you're being listen, I'm not doing this with y'all today. If you're going to come in and be misrepresentative, you're getting smacked down real quick. I'm not doing this with you, TJ. That is not at all going to take the entire staff of Guerrilla away from Horizon 3. Like, don't run the falsehood, man. It's freaking tiring. Like, it's just tiring. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not in the mood for it. I'm so tired of it. You guys want to come in and do the talking point thing? Find somewhere else to do that. It's exhausting. It really is. They have a team working on Horizon. They said that Horizon 3 is still a ways out. That doesn't mean the entire studio is working on the live service game, and it doesn't mean that Horizon 3, you literally think it's going to take 8 or 9 years to develop. Like, do you honestly think that? Like, in 2022, they shipped the second Horizon game. You're not running any falsehoods? So, this is your argument. Let's restate the argument and show how false it is. So you don't think we're going to get Horizon 3 this gen? And I'm like, that would be crazy. Horizon 2 came out in 2022. We're going to be getting potentially a PlayStation 6 as late as 2029. That's 7 to 8 years after. That's 7 to 8 years after they ship the second Horizon game. Why do you think it would take that long? Or like, oh, they got a live service game to work on. That isn't true. They're not putting the entire studio on the live service game. They literally say in the announcement of Horizon. So yes, it's false. You're misrepresenting Horizon Hunters Gathering and Guerrilla when you say that. You put that out there, and that's what people start to run with. They're like, yep, we're not getting Horizon 3. Everybody's working on the live service game. It isn't true. We spend so much time smacking down talking points that aren't rooted in reality. Talk about real things. We already had somebody do it this morning. Yeah, everything's going to PC because of Square Enix. Jiminy Christmas. How long have we been streaming? What is this? What, 25 minutes? Are we going for a record? Somebody else say something. Is Santa Claus real too? Like, what are we doing? Mick Diesel with 50 months. The thing I miss about the Series X is the quick resume. Having to boot up everything in time sucks. I get a reminder every time I play my PS5. I don't agree, but I don't think it takes very long to get into games at all. I think quick resume is a really inconsistent gimmick. It doesn't even work that consistently on my Series X. But I'm not riding that merry-go-round again either. Who cares? Thank you so much, Wired Rope with a 5-spot. Appreciate it. All right, man, sure. Listen, you can't substantiate the claim, so why make it? It's just absolute projection to act like because Horizon Hunters Gathering is coming out, you're posturing as if it's going to take like a decade to get the third Horizon game. So let's just say you're saying we're not going to get it this gen. So that means it would come out in like 2030, 2031. That's close to a decade. You think it's going to take 10 years, close to 10 years to get the third Horizon game? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's an absurd position. Guerrilla has demonstrated that they can make sequels somewhat close together. We know the Decim engine's quite good. And the idea that Horizon Hunters Gathering is going to essentially make the third game take a decade. I just... You know what I mean? I've spent more time on this than I want to. I was dismissive because it's a silly thing to say. It's not grounded in anything. It just feels like that forced, like, negative, like, it's the same thing people are doing with the PS6. They're like, well, yeah, it's going to be bad and it's not going to be strong. It doesn't have RDNA5. And it's like, that's not what's being reported. It's not the full suite of RDNA5, which is the same thing we went through with the PlayStation 5. You could say that if all the resources had been put into the third game, it likely would have come out next year. I think that's more reasonable. See what I'm saying? I think it's more reasonable to be like, yeah, the third Horizon game could have come out, next year or the year after, but they had that slice, bandwidth off for Horizon Hunters Gathering. That's more reasonable than like, we're not getting Horizon this gen because they have to work on this live service game. Sorry, Vasily, it just made sense at the time. Do you see the difference, though? Like, I think posturing that studios like Guerrilla are going to take a decade, close to a decade, to make their third game because of the Horizon live service game, I just think it's absurd. Like, you do this a lot, TJ. You jump to the most hyperbolic statements, and it's like you just big exaggerate, and it's like, come on, man. Let's have an actual conversation. Zero Dawn to Forbidden West was too years. We're honestly saying that 2030 is going to take 5 times that. Zero Dawn to Forbidden West was not 2 years. I'm not sure where you're getting your math there, Siege. Zero Dawn was 2017. Forbidden West was 2022, homie. That's 5 years, brother. That's a solid development cycle. That's a solid development cycle. I do not, homie. Do you think I don't read my comments and reply to your comments, man? You're in all caps in my comments going crazy sometimes. It's just your vibe. It's just your vibe, man. It's fine. It's just sometimes it's like, can we not do the exaggeration thing? Like, you know what I mean? Can we not do that? Everything sky is falling, everything terrible. What is this? I think people also need to understand that consoles have never offered bleeding edge tech with regards to not having the full feature set of RDNA5. PCs have had machine learning and upscaling for a long time. Consoles have only just gotten it with the Pro. Well, the issue with the RDNA thing is it's once again being used to act as if you guys know, maybe not you guys here, but act as if people know what the PlayStation 6 is going to be capable of. And it's like, why are we doing this again? We did this with the PlayStation 5, and all those predictions turned out to be incredibly inaccurate and ignorant. Why do we have to do this again? Why not wait and let them actually show it? To me, the principle stands. It's like if you're going to look at how PSSR is improving, how FSR is improving, I think the principle stands. If the next console has a lot of elements of that in it, you don't have to worry about it taking longer to come to the market. You don't. It's like they can make those things better and improve those things over time instead of feeling like, oh no, it's going to be weaker and bad and it's not going to be as good. It's like we went through this before, and then the PlayStation 5 comes out and it's outperforming everybody's expectations because people jumped to conclusions about what they saw on like a piece of paper that leaked. It's the same thing that's happening right now. I think it's why Moore's Law is Dead is being cagey on Twitter about it. He's like, listen, I already leaked this. AMD and Sony are referring to it as RDNA. They're not referring to it as less than or half of. You know what I mean? I pulled your stream up before you went live, and my 9-month-old's face got really happy. Your voice has been a staple background noise early in her life. Oh, that's awesome, Clevelando. Didn't they say they took the important parts of RDNA2 for the PS5, so expect the same for the PS6? That's what I'm saying, BMO. It's like, BMO, careful. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why jump to these conclusions again? They have proven with their relationship with AMD and Project Amethyst, Sony has proven to be really good in this environment. Why are we going to run this narrative again? It's so tiring. And it's like, listen, I get it. When the leaks hit and you can put the headline out there, that's totally fine. You want to put the headline out there like it's not going to have full RDNA5, that's fine. But I think it's all in phrasing. You could say it's going to have custom RDNA5 and you would be just as accurate. Saying it doesn't have full RDNA5 brings the same exact trajectory of conversation that we went through last time. That's why Moore's Law is Dead's out there and it's like, yeah, the PS5 didn't underperform. And he's basically saying, we've been through this before. We did this the last time. We did this, 7 or 8 years ago or however long ago it was. Moore's Law is Dead is cagey because he prioritizes factual reporting and not fake news BS fanboys due to the console war. Well, to be fair, his back and forth with Kepler is interesting. Kepler and Tom are not disagreeing. Kepler and Moore's Law is Dead are not disagreeing. It's all in phrasing. And I don't think Moore's Law is Dead is like taking an issue with Kepler. He's like, why are we doing this reporting thing where we're like putting it in big headlines like, oh, it's not going to have full RDNA5. And he's like, that's not how Sony and AMD view it. You're making it seem as though we're gonna have this same conversation all over again, where it's like, yep, here we go again. It's not gonna have it. It's not gonna have it, and it's gonna be weaker. And it's like, do we really need to go through this deja vu again? Exactly, Kenshiro. It's like, why not trust the company to do what they did last time? Like, a lot of these companies will show you what their commitments are and what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And they showed us with PS5. They're showing us with the PS5 Pro. They're showing us with AMD Project Amethyst. You know what I mean? Horizon looks great. Can't wait, bros. Which Horizon game are you talking about? This whole PlayStation usage of RDNA is just silly. It's trying to paint efficiency as deficiency. Tom has internal data and Kepler has some sort of chip insider on the manufacturing side. That's the only thing that makes sense. Well, sure, and I think when I would completely understand being frustrated given what he's doing. If he's the first to report it and he's the first to leak it, and then it's run later as like, oh man, we got this burning leak about RDNA and the PS6, and he's like, I already leaked that. What? No, this isn't new. And no, it's not going to be a diminishment of performance. I hope Microsoft or Steam can come up with new resume function for games. Having to close everything out is trash. It's the only thing I miss from the console. Mike, I just don't align with your priorities at all. We are so different. All that matters to me is once I'm playing the game. The difference between 30 seconds and 60 seconds is, to me, not a deal breaker at all. If somebody told me, yeah, this system has all these great things, look how great the games look how good they run, the performance is solid and blah, 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 it's going to take an extra 30 seconds to open the game. I'd be like, okay. Like this one over here, not as strong, doesn't have all those great new features, but you'll get into the game faster. I know which console I'm picking. I know which one I'm choosing. I don't care about the ability to get back in the game quicker. I genuinely do not understand why that would be such a big priority. It's such a minuscule amount of time. The quickness with which we can get into games now compared to like when I was a kid, it's night and day. I mean, it's night and day. We are in a game and playing light years faster than we did when I was playing on PC and the Xbox 360 back in the day. It's not even comparable. It's just not even comparable. Thinking about PC, I don't know if you're ever going to see that kind of a like, why would you need that kind of a feature on a PC either? Like, I feel like on my PC, when I load up a game on Steam, it opens so quickly. Like, I don't feel like I need a quick resume feature on my PC. I don't know. I just, like, it's genuinely curious, like, all the people that championed that. It's like, have you ever heard a PC guy complain about that? Like, oh, I can't believe I have to open the game. Like, it's just such an interesting, as a value point and as a desire as a consumer, I don't sympathize or empathize at all with where you're coming from on it. Like, it doesn't, I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't matter to me. I don't know. You can alt-tab on PC. Yeah, but that's generally ill-advised. It's generally ill-advised. Like, I would not leave a game running on my PC overnight. So the next time I could come down here, I could alt-tab back into the game to avoid waiting for it to open? Like, what? That's probably going to cause diminished performance in the game anyway, given how a lot of them don't like when you alt-tab in and out of them. And the wear and tear on the system. Like, what the heck? You're just going to make your system sit there and idle all day with a game already open? Right. I don't know, man. I just don't. Oh, the younglings don't understand what we had to go through back in the day. I'm saying, Dan, it's just not a priority for me. Like, I better be able to get back into my game in 10 seconds or I'm angry. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I don't know. Who would use a PC like that? That's what I'm saying, Jazster. Like, no one would do that. Because that's essentially, you can quick resume on a PC, just minimize the game. Nobody would do that because you'd be like, why would I do that? It doesn't even take that long to open the game. You know what I mean? But people wanted to get into this weird comparison between like quick resume and the PlayStation 5. And I'm like, okay, you can get into your game a little bit quicker. That's never mattered to gamers. You know, I think loading screens within a game is far more important because that can be directly impactful on your immersion within the game itself. You know, you go to open a door and you got to like wait. That I get. I totally get that because you're in the game at that point. You know what I mean? I'm not leaving my game on in the background. The graphics card would be cooking. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Mike. Like, I don't think you're ever going to get that. I don't think you're ever going to get that kind of a feature on PC. I'll be honest with you. You're probably not going to get that feature on the next Xbox. I don't think it's a big priority. I don't even think it's that great of a feature. It doesn't even run that well. Games stay in memory on the PS5 unless you change games. I mean, I feel like when I power that thing off and power it back up, I feel like I'm within games pretty quickly. I don't get out a stopwatch because I don't care, but I do feel like I get into games pretty quickly. I don't know. To me, you give me that, and this is relevant to the PlayStation 6 discussion, the PS6 discussion. To me, the reason I'm fine with waiting for it to come out is it just gives them more time to improve things like the ray tracing, the neural arrays, the PSSR, any kind of AI, anything. I'm like, dude, make it awesome. We do not need the next console to be insanely powerful and over $1,000. I need it to be a reasonable jump in power. I need it to leverage all this better tech with lighting, with shadows, maybe some path tracing. I don't know. Neural processing, upscaling, make it all look really, really pretty. I completely agree with Mark Cerny when he told Digital Foundry, like, we need to be talking about these games differently. We need to be talking about image quality. We do not need to be sitting here talking about native. Is it native 4K? I think that is just I don't even think. I think in 5 years, we're going to be sitting in 2031 laughing at the notion of why anybody would care about native. I mean it. I think we're going to be sitting at 2031 being like, can you believe the fact that back then people were worried about native resolutions? Because the tech's just going to continue to get better and better. Upscaling is just going to be the standard way that you get an image to look better and crispier and nicer. It is. I mean it. I just think that's going to be your standard method of getting a nice higher resolution image is going to be through an upscaler. It's anybody not using one's going to feel foolish. I thought that just breaks the game. I'm not sure what you're referring to breaks the game. We used to start a game, make a sandwich, and come back to the intro screen. That's right. PS6 8K 120 is a standard. I don't know about that. I don't know why you would set such a high bar. Nick says, I could see the PS6 doing path tracing at 30 commonly or 60 in more rare occasions. Yeah, it's possible. It just depends on how much headroom they can get with the upscaling. You know, how much can they sort of lighten the load of what's happening in front of you, you know. It's quick because the PS5 can load with hardware decompression up to 20 gigs per second. That's significantly faster than the 2.4 gigs per second of the Xbox. I'm here to tell you, I've been trying to clear my friends out on my Series X. Anytime my daughter has to do anything on there because she plays Fortnite, I just think it feels slow. The whole thing feels slow. I like the UI better. I've never been particularly fond of PlayStation's UI, but my Series X just feels slow. Like, once it's in a game, it's fine. But, like, I don't know, man. Everything I do, opening menus, opening games, everything about it feels like laggy and slow. It never feels snappy and responsive. Read Adam King's comment a few back. Let's see. Adam King said, want to see me cancel Perfect Dark and Forza 2 in 2 seconds? Want to see me do it again? We've reached a point where Quick Resume is the best Xbox exclusive. We've reached critical mass. Nick, thanks for jumping back in. We're a little behind pace, boys. We want to end the day at 200, and make sure you're checking your renewals. If you've never supported the channel directly on YouTube before, $5 a month is massively helpful to what I do here. We currently have about 500 people paying for their own membership. We'd love to get that to 600, so you can help us with that milestone by clicking join. And for $5 a month, you get a badge, emotes, and access to my Discord. TV manufacturers are already walking back the 8K TVs because there's no real gain. They're all working on the underlying tech to improve 4K image quality. That's not surprising if that's actually taking place, Legend. That's not surprising at all, because I'm here to tell you there is going to be a more noticeable visual lift in a game through better lighting and shadows than freaking going up to 8K. Like, you're going to notice. All you've got to do is look at the transformative nature of Assassin's Creed Shadows when you turn on ray tracing global illumination. It looks completely different. That's one major ray tracing feature in one game, and it's not going up to 8K. If I had the ability to do that, if I could show you AC shadows and then AC shadows with RTGI, and then show you Assassin's Creed Shadows without ray tracing GI but give you 8K, everybody would pick the one with the ray tracing Every time. You'd be like, oh yeah, that one looks better. Every time, because the visual lift is so much more visible than just, well, there's more pixels. Like, okay, so it's sharper? Like, all right. Like, an upscaled 4K image done properly looks incredible. You can only get so crisp before it's like, it's just diminishing returns to like your actual brain noticing. I don't think it's going to be a big focus in the next gen at all. I think the focus is going to be on visual lift through things like lighting. The misdiagnosing the 8K walkback, the issue is lack of content. It's not everything is broadcasting in 4K at this time. Yeah, but Eugene, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're also going to be walking it back because demand in the market is going to be incredibly slow, not for the lack of content, but for the lack of being able to really tell the difference. I just think people are going to struggle to tell the difference. I really do, in gaming especially. Listen, if you're a developer and you boost something all the way to 8K and you know what that's going to do to performance and you know what that's going to do to consistency, but instead of boosting something to 8K, you can throw in ray tracing, maybe some path tracing, I don't know, maybe better shadows, I don't know. Like, you're able to do things to make the visual lift of the game more apparent. They're going to choose that every single time. They're going to be like, why would we choose 8K? It makes it so difficult. I know you're speaking specific to the TVs, Eugene, but I just mean in general, I think the lack of 8K content is going to be a perpetual thing, especially in gaming, because I don't think developers are going to want to strain at that gnat. It's such a small thing to strain after. 8K is absolutely pointless. 4K isn't even the standard yet. Try streaming 8K from Netflix. For me, lighting and shadows over 8K. I think the more people realize that, and again, I'm going to go back to what Mark Cerny said. He's like, we need to change the way that we talk about these games. Rain Waters with a Prime bumping us there. Thank you for 12 months. Welcome back. Who wants to count pores on the lead actor? Morning gamers, I'm cool with the 2029 release of the PS6. Says Trey Gaming. My Pro and PC will hold me down. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm just getting here. Are you talking native 8K? I think even upscaling to 8K is going to be uncommon. Gamer DMV says, thanks for the gifted. Yeah, we're very close to the next milestone of 50. Listen, I am not going to do that thing that we were doing for a while. This is here. You guys know how it works. Every 25 I owe one. That's where we are. Like, I'm not going to do the thing. Like, we've been kind of letting it hang. We'll be like 1 or 2 away from a milestone. It just becomes a huge distraction. So make of it what you will. We need more likes, guys. Yeah, we do actually. Let's try to do that in the first hour. We're only going for about 45 minutes. Let's try to get to 200 likes. That doesn't cost anything. That is free. Everybody hit that thumbs up. I think even upscaling to 8K is going to be really uncommon, Zubair. I just don't think they're going to want to strain at it. It's going to be why? That's the question. The impetus for doing it would be a visual lift, making the game look better. And I think you're going to get way more visual lift from really good lighting. A 4K game with really good lighting and shadows is going to have a clearer visual lift than an 8K game that can't really add any of those things. Or an 8K game that when it adds those things, you're getting 30 FPS. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think the 8K thing is just a fool's errand. Corey says 8K is only a big deal for image quality when you get into significantly bigger screens. 8K on a 65-inch screen doesn't look transformative. 8K on an 88 screen looks significantly different. Right, and how many people are sitting around with an 88-inch screen? Like, what percentage of the market is even watching anything at that size? I don't even know if I would want a game on an 88-inch screen TV. I don't know if I would want to. That seems that seems absurd. 4K 240 over 8K 60. 240 frames. There you go. I think 8K will be on the shelf right next to 3D in the long run. Yeah, maybe. I think eventually it would become standard, but I don't know. If they have a hardware 8K scaler, it'll be free. If they have a hardware 8K scaler, says AOZ, it will be free. So you're saying it wouldn't cost them any, like, headroom? They couldn't use... So, you're saying that's all that hardware would be for. If you guys are just tuning in, we've been talking about The PS6, the latest leaks is that it's going to be coming in 2029. We're also hearing different things about RDNA5, and we're also hearing, some speculation in chat about 8K. So I basically said, I do not think, I just don't think that's going to be the focus. Cyberpunk looks like a different game with ray tracing path tracing. I played it like that a little, and it's really nice. I've seen the 8K projectors; they're insane, says Eugene. Yeah, again, I just think the average person's not there, not going to have that. You're a 1080 warrior for the most part. I really said this early on in this gen. I got some pushback, but I remember a lot of people agreeing with me. I was like, listen, 1440-60 is the sweet spot this gen. You don't need to go above that. You give me 1440-60, and now on the Pro you can throw in things like RTGI. Yes, yep, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm gonna get consistent performance. It's gonna look really nice. I'm happy. I don't need anything else. 1440-60, good. You don't need to strain it at 4K. I don't need 120. I'm good. 1440-60 is a sweet spot this gen. There's just no reason to go above it. I think 4K 60 is a sweet spot next gen. There's no reason to go above that, especially if you're using upscalers. So it's like, that's fine. That's fine. What are we doing here? It can only get so crisp, y'all. Alex Gaming says, Moore's Law is dead. The PlayStation 6 documents list RDNA5 all over the place. Call it what you want, but Sony and AMD call it RDNA5. By the way, Sony called PS5 RDNA2, and Xbox called Xbox Series X RDNA2 as well. Right. I think Moore's Law is getting a little cagey on Twitter, and I kind of took up for him today in the Discord because I said, listen, I feel like he thinks we're going to just repeat history. He's probably feeling deja vu. It's like, and I don't think he was having a go at Kepler. I think he was having a go at the reporting. And listen, I like Insider Gaming. I didn't think Insider Gaming did anything wrong with the headline, but the headline is certainly phrased in a negative way, and you could phrase it in a positive way. Now, it's not the duty of an outlet like that to pick a negative or positive outlook, but we know the negative one's probably going to get the clicks. But I think Moore's Law is dead also knows, here we go again. Everybody's going to be talking about how the PlayStation 6 is not going to have RDNA5. That's what they're going to do. They're going to extrapolate a falsehood from the headline, right? There's nothing wrong with the headline. It's that you're going to extrapolate a falsehood from the headline. Oh, the PlayStation 6 isn't going to have full RDNA5. What's that get turned into? PlayStation 6 isn't going to have RDNA5. A €5 super chat from Aesthetic Perfume. Res is becoming more and more obsolete. Upscaling is good enough to present a decent picture. Devs should aim for better physics and lighting models. Now, you know what gets lost in this discussion a lot, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Physics. That is exactly right. So often, one of the reasons that a game looks so good and feels so good is the physics of the environment, the foliage, the character. Yes, that is another, I think, excellent point. Like, leave room for a really, really good physics engine so everything looks and feels very, very real and vibrant. I think that's a very good word. Headlines kill consoles. People still think Xbox games can't be traded in. I mean, I don't think headlines kill consoles. I think people waste a lot of time debating things like what they did with the Series X and the PlayStation 5. You know? If you guys are just tuning in, do me a quick favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the like button. If you're lurking, take a quick second and make sure you did that. That's just something. Every time you come to the stream, make that your ritual. And even say something in the chat if you don't mind. Say good morning. Give your opinion on what we're talking about. Whether or not you want 4K or 8K. Or whether or not you care if the PlayStation 6 comes in 2029 or later. Like, is that a big bother to you? Is that something that's concerning to you? Like, I think that's the big thing now is, like, if the PS6 is delayed to 2029. I argued in the opening of the show, I think this can only benefit consumers as long as the price of the PS5 and Pro doesn't get absurd. We don't need the PlayStation 6 to show up any earlier than 2028 or 2029. I think that's totally fine. I think we only benefit from that. If Microsoft still releases the Magnus next year and Sony waits to 2029, things will get really interesting. If Microsoft releases the Magnus next year. I talked about that in the show open. I don't necessarily think we're going to see a big push from Microsoft to leverage that advantage. I don't think their goals with the Magnus is to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna jump in front of PlayStation. I just don't think that's their goal. I don't think they're gonna scale to that level of production. At the price point that the Magnus is likely going to land, I don't anticipate them wanting to saturate the market more than they did with Series X and the Series S, and even that's not that great right now. I mean, it's not on pace to be very impressive at all. I just don't think so. The funny thing is, I play GT7 in 8K. Most won't even really notice the ray tracing because that's how close it is between the two. The difference with ray tracing and 8K enable UC. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. A sharpness in the 8K ray tracing, you have to look at the little reflections. I think you'll have examples of games that can pull it off, but I don't think the norm will be 8K. Does that make sense? I think there will be games like that, like racing games especially. What the one F1 game managed to pull that off. They've got I think they've got 8K, don't they? I think that was one of the ones that Digital Foundry was like raving about at the one event or whatever. I don't necessarily think that you're going to see a lot of games do that though. I think the standard's going to be, yeah, no, we don't care about that. It's just way too much loss of headroom to strive for that higher resolution. Now, what AOZ put in the chat, if there's some dedicated piece of hardware in the PlayStation 6 that is doing that, I just don't know. I don't, if they're able to do that and you don't actually lose any headroom, I think that's totally fine. Mike Straw says today is going to be another dark day for games media. I wonder why he's saying that. What is happening? Is there going to be like a layoff or something? I wonder if there's an outlet closing that he knows about. Marathon is 5K. We're not too many years away from it. Yeah, but certain games, and even the way they're getting the 5K, Eugene, and the type of game that it is, Microsoft layoffs. Mike Straw specifically said games media. I'm assuming, if you guys don't know who Mike Straw is, he's a contributor over there at Insider Gaming. We've read a bunch of his stuff on stream before. He does good work. He's saying that it's going to be a dark day for games media. I'm not sure what he's referring to. I think upscaling makes 8K a checkbox. Upscaling from 4K to 8K has so much data to feed the algorithm, it'll look flawless. Big Pack fan says maybe they're laying off Gaz already. Don't be mean. The people responding to that, I think they're funnier than like Gaz's video was funny. I thought his video was funny. I think the reply, people are losing their frickin' minds. I'm like, y'all don't seem to understand. Like, I don't think they brought Gaz on to be like an investigative journalist. They brought him on because he's a character. They're probably gonna do like they have the Iron Lords After Dark thing that they're doing. I think Insider Gaming is just expanding outside of. You're gonna have Tom Henderson and Mike Straw and the boys doing their thing, and then you're gonna have shows and entertainment extensions of Insider Gaming. Like, I don't know. I trust Tom Henderson and the boys over there. I don't think they're bringing guys on Gaz. Like, people are like, this, you've lost all credibility. And I'm like, if they bring him on as a personality, like, what's the big deal? Like, if he's just a creator making content, I think people, are, I don't know. I think people are getting really upset and they don't quite understand what the goal is. So I didn't see it and get like, I wasn't like upset. I was like, well, there you go. They're adding another person to the Rolodex over there. Yo, good morning, Feed. I see you in the chat. How are you? Yo, it's good, CBH. Yo, it's good, Damien. How are you? Good morning. If you guys are coming in and saying good morning, say good morning with a thumbs up on the YouTube video. Give it a like. It's 8K using upscaling. If you play GT7 on a 4K screen, it's 4K and it blocks out 8K altogether. Yeah, I thought Tom's tweet, this was a mistake. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I think they're handling it just fine. I mean, I don't know. Listen, if they brought somebody on who was like scamming people or something and like selling snake oil or something, like, sure, I don't know if there's anybody in the space doing that, but like just somebody who's known for being kind of a character and doing salty satire content, like whatever. I just don't care, man. Everybody's doing their thing in this space. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing their thing and has their way of approaching it. You know, everybody should just learn to get along. CM Wright with the VIP in 52 months. Boom, we're 2 away from me owing you guys a member. Whoever hits it gets it. Thank you, CM Wright, for pushing it. It only makes sense if they hire J-Dub. all things, you know, perfectly balanced. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Pull a Thanos. You got to have a balance, you know. Who is Gaz's arch nemesis? You know, get him on the roster. I think that's fair. We should treat this like we're building a team of Avengers, and you're on the team. We need somebody to balance this guy out. I think that's a good move. Resolution preferences, I think, matters a lot where you play. Or you want a 27-inch monitor or a 77-inch OLED. That matters a lot to your personal preferences. Here's something that I said, though, Caleb, that's relevant to what you're saying. And I said this in the opening of the show. If we look at the response, so when Valve is talking about, I'm not sure they want to be the WWE of gaming. I wonder if it's less wanting to be the WWE of gaming and just giving people lots of opportunities to be either entertained or informed. Like, there are plenty of people that are not going to want to watch Gaz, but there's plenty of people that are going to want to. Like, I don't know. I just think if we can move past whatever in the heck happened during ABK, where people were making it personal and being nasty, I'm okay with everybody, you know, being given a shot to just have fun and make content. And if you don't like their content, you don't have to watch it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Caleb. So if you listen to Valve's response about the Steam machine, Valve basically said, because the Steam machine is essentially going to be slightly weaker than a PS5. The Steam machine is not coming to the market as like a powerhouse of a device. It isn't. However, the Valve guy said that basically most of the people, according to the hardware reports, are on devices that are weaker than the Steam machine. Like, most of the people booting up Steam and playing PC games, they're playing Among Us and Vampire Survivors. Like, they're not on some beefy rig. Okay, so that's relative and related to what we're talking about here, Caleb, with like who has a big TV and who doesn't. The vast majority of the market is not currently set up with a monitor or a TV that is going to give a hoot and a holler about 8K. So I don't know if you're going to see the next wave of hardware or the next wave of like development in games. I don't know if they're going to be paying much attention to that. They're going to be targeting, you know, I think the majority. Now, in the past, they would target, we got to go to 1080, we got to go to 1080, and then it was, we got to go to 4K, we got to go to 4K. Now that they're getting diminishing returns, and it will very, very potentially adversely affect performance of the game, I think you'll see less and less people focusing on that, because the developers, the hardware, the engineers, all these guys, they know, they're like, yeah, I don't know if it's worth doing that. Unless, of course, you can get some kind of a proprietary upscaler that's doing all of the lifting to get you to 8K. So then everything else is being used to just work on the ray tracing and the physics and the rendering of the textures and all of the rest. Most people are on a cheap 4K non-VR. That's what I'm saying, Caleb. See, you already know what I'm talking about. Like, the average person is not sitting with some like 70 plus inch television that's like 8K capable. Like, that just, I don't, the market isn't going to get there, I don't think, for a while. I don't think there's a high demand for it. Now, you could say chicken and the egg, right? Well, there's no content. Once there's content, then there'll be demand for it. I still wonder if that's going to be a struggle. I really do. Your early adopters usually can walk into a store and see a clear difference. 4K versus 8K, I think is going to be I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a harder sell. I could be totally wrong here, and they could really, really blow your mind, and you could walk into the store and be like, yeah, it's well worth the extra $1,000 to buy the 8K television or whatever the price difference is. You know, I could end up being wrong here, but I just really wonder if it's going to be a lot harder to market it. And one of the reasons it's going to be a lot harder to market it is because you're literally dealing with a a visual subjectivity. And when you do that, you're going to have a lot of people do what they did with 3D televisions and be like, yeah, I don't think it's that nice. I'm not going to spend the extra money. And I don't know if 4K to 8K, if the presentation, I don't know. Oh, that's right. It's Fat Tuesday. Yeah. All the churches around, well, not all the churches, but all the yeah, I guess they're churches. All the churches around us are doing the Fat Tuesdays and the fish fries and stuff. 8K will be something that people like, but it's not going to be a deciding factor. 8K TVs will not be a huge thing by then. I agree with you, Shontorius. The major TV producers have all stopped producing 8K TVs. No new 8K TVs are being released this year. Yeah. You forgot about 3D TVs? I worked at Best Buy when they were trying to make them a thing. And the same thing happened every time we would have somebody demo one. They'd be like, I don't like it that much. That was it. They'd be coming in there, and I'd hand them the glasses, and they'd be like, okay. They'd be like, oh, okay. Oh. Wow. All right, well, thanks for showing me that. And then they give me the glasses back, and they wouldn't buy. They would just give me the glasses back, and they're like, yeah, we're not gonna buy. It's too expensive. I have a 5090, and that's what it takes to run 4K 120. I don't expect that for systems. Are you running 4K native, Mike? Like, are you running an upscaler? I still have a plasma 3D TV. The 3D got old quickly. Yeah, I don't even like paying for it when I go to the theater. I don't even like paying for it when I go to the dadgum theater. It's more expensive, and I don't unless it's like made for it. I don't think it's that great of an experience. I'm not like, oh, wow, look at that. The trees are slightly popping off of the screen. Like, what the huh? Like, if it's made for it, like there was like the one Avatar that I saw in 3D was incredible. And then there was an Ice Age that was made for 3D, and it looked ridiculous. Like, it was really, really fun. Like, me and my friends were like, wow, that was impressive. Generally speaking, it was never worth it. You know what I mean? Generally speaking, I'm just kidding. I can't. I don't know if y'all can see links, but I'm sending one. We cannot see links. YouTube will automatically filter your comment. There's too many spam bots out there, brother. I, for one, enjoy 3D in the theater. I do not. Yeah. I do not. No one wants to wear glasses. That's what I'm saying. The customers that did not like 3D televisions, were they listening to rage-baiting YouTubers telling them not to like it? Did anyone think about the engine and the engineers building those TVs? I read the first part, S3, and I was like, he can't be serious talking about rage-baiting YouTubers for 3D televisions. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I got to the second half. Then I was like, this is great. This is perfect. Oh my gosh. Some Sony engineer is in the comments just mauling on some guy's TV channel. You're the reason our TVs failed. We made this Apple, and instead of just saying you didn't want one. Oh gosh. That was good. Listen, as somebody who's been streaming for over a decade, there is an art form to tricking the streamer with a comment. There is an art form to it. Some of you guys do it by accident. Some of you guys are artisans. Like, you really bring the A game with like the first sentence or so. I'm like, what am I reading? And then as I read the rest, I just bust up laughing. That is very appreciated. I very much appreciate that. Yo, what's good, Lion? How are you? We have to support all the 3D TV engineers. Guys, we should cheer for every piece of technology and give every piece of technology a shot. You know what I mean? No matter how bad, they all deserve a shot. Oh, gosh. Oh, that was good. Did Sony ever make 3D games? Wait, what do you... Oh, you mean like with 3D glasses? I don't think so. I was like, what do you mean 3D? Like, Super Mario 3D's been out for a while, brother, and I think after that, Sony made a lot of 3D games. That was like the first one, wasn't it? I don't think it was the first one. Like, maybe the first one on console. Oh, shoot. That was good. Lono, I feel gamers need to stop worrying about consoles and games that are not coming anytime soon. We have capable machines now and plenty of great games coming out. I mean, that's essentially the position that I took, Lion. You know, I said, listen, I don't think this can do anything but benefit the consumer. If a bunch of developers right now are like, hey, let's just focus on mid-level PCs and the PS5, you know, the PS5's doing a great job saturating the market. You can make a ton of money selling to the PlayStation platform as well as PC, and you don't need to go crazy. You don't need to go crazy with the graphics. Just make a really good game, you know? And a lot of people, I remember before the PS5 Pro came out, you know, a lot of people were like, we really haven't even tapped into the full potential of the PS5. And I'm like, okay, did you play Burning Shores? But fine. Maybe you're right. Maybe we haven't. Well, hey, guess what? Now they got plenty of time to tap into the full power of the PS5, boys. They got plenty of time. You know, they got a couple more years now. That halfway mark. You know, that IGN reporting about we're going into the latter stages of the PS5. That looks dumber every day, doesn't it? You know? Graphics aren't everything. People play Roblox and Minecraft a lot. Yeah, fun factor is a significant aspect, isn't it? It's a significant aspect. Yo, Alex over here with 11 months on Twitch. We're exactly one away from hitting 50. Thank you so much. Sony had a lot of 3D games that took advantage of 3D televisions. I did not know that, Hadigan. That is literally, I am today years old when I learned that they actually made 3D games. I didn't know that they had done that. We haven't even touched 8K yet. It's on my PS5 box. Trust me, bro. It's on the box. It's 8K on the box. I think I've got one of the boxes in the closet. I should just get it out and put it back there so I can just like, yeah, it's right there. Right there. It's false advertising. I'd rather for the PS6 to be delayed because it will give more dev time to be ready for the PS6 equals more output first-party titles. Well, here's something you got to understand, though, Perfect Image. I'm gonna tell you this, and I don't have any insider information or anything. I don't think there's going to be a lot of PS6 exclusives. I think cross-gen's going to be lengthy. I think they're going to get a lot of mileage out of the PS5, boys. You are not going to saturate the market with, like, let's say they get to 120 million. I think they're going to easily hit 120 million. I think the GTA 6 launch and when Call of Duty leaves behind PS4, I think they could easily get to 120 million PS5s in circulation. You're not going to have 120 million pieces of equipment in the market that can run, yeah, you got it, Alex. Give me 1 second. That can run games at like an upscaled 4K 30 or like a really nice 1440 60. You're not going to have 120 million consumers that are capable of playing games at that fidelity and being like, no, we really need to leave this behind. Are you kidding me? No. There's going to be plenty of games that could come out all the way into the 2030s that are going to be running 1440 60 and be like, yeah, this is fine. Think about the average developer and their bandwidth and their budget and the types of games that people are making. Like, I don't think you're going to be like, oh my gosh, we need to leave this behind. Like, no, it's a perfectly capable device. Like, it's going to give people exactly what they're accustomed to getting. And they're not, like, if anything, the 40 million people hanging out on the PS4, playing Warzone right now and Roblox and Fortnite right now, they are proof that you can let people live on a console for a really long time. It's like, who the frick cares if they're a paying consumer? Like, who cares? Let me add Alex to the total here over there on Purple. I owe Purple a member. We are now halfway to yesterday's goal. Thank you so much for getting us there, Mr. Alex. If you guys missed the Saturday stream with Madam this last weekend, it was hysterical. That is what you guys unlock whenever you hit that weekly goal of 500. So thank you so much. PC's expensive, top of the line at MSRP. 2K59 EMB, CPU, blah, blah, that's all summer price. You said too much that I don't care about. All these numbers and letters and things. I'm like, okay, I don't care. about 400 million about 40 million actively used PS4s. There's about 40 million people still actively turning on their PS4s. Yes. All you have to do is look at PlayStation's market saturation of the PS5, look at their record MAU, and do a little bit of math. I'm not being condescending. I'm being serious. Like, that's all you got to do. That's it. Like, oh, they hit a record MAU of about 130 million. Okay. And how many PlayStation 5s have they sold? You just subtract the PlayStation 5 from that, and you get somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40 million people are still turning on their PS4s. I saw a guy debating that the GTA 6 would come to the PS4 yesterday. No. There's no way. It's going to struggle to run well on the PS5. Like, what are we talking about? Did Madam enjoy High Guard? No. And neither did I. Yeah, no. For what? Hulu? No. They're booting up their PS4s to play friggin' Call of Duty Warzone and Roblox and Fortnite. I use my PS4 as a media center. The PS5 really sucks at that. Can I ask y'all something? What the frick is wrong with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X when you put a DVD in there? I'm like, I can't hear the movie. And I'm like, you can turn your television up as loud as it will go. It's like there's a volume. What the heck are they doing? They are both, the PS5 and the Series X, are the worst DVD or Blu-ray players ever. They're terrible. Who would do that? I don't know. Anybody who doesn't have a Blu-ray right now? Like, I had to pull a Blu-ray out of the dadgum closet. I was like, I can't hear the movie. We still have DVDs and Blu-rays that we use every now and again. My kiddos will rent a DVD or a Blu-ray from the library. It's easier for them to do that. Sometimes they can do that because it's not hitting Netflix or Disney yet. So they'll get a DVD or a Blu-ray from the library, and if you put it in the Series X or the PlayStation 5, my wife gets training materials because she homeschools. She gets training materials that are on like a DVD, and if you put it in the PlayStation 5 or the Series X, it's like you can't freaking hear. It's like, why can't I turn this up? What is going on? You have to toggle the volume? I've done all that, brother. I've gone into the settings, and I'm like, I can't hear anything. It's like it's super quiet. Who has a library these days? We have a great library. We have a great library system in our city in Louisville. There's so many great libraries that my kiddos go to. Yeah. You should listen, y'all. If you're a parent right now, you should go to your local library, check it out, see if they have a decent kids section, and get yourself a library card. Get your kids a library card, and then download the app called Libby. I believe it's Libby. I think it's IE. Libby, I believe, is what it's called. And you can connect that to your library card, and you can borrow audiobooks. It's great. It's good entertainment for your kiddos. That's not a dadgum screen. It's such a freaking parenting cheat code, man. Check out your library, get a card, sync it with the Libby app, and you can check out audiobooks for free. It's great for trips and stuff. You know what I mean? Great for when you got to go somewhere and the kid needs something to do. You know what I mean? They're not going to be sitting there like staring at a dadgum K-pop demon hunter. Blame the sound engineers of movies. They've created abnormal range. Loud is too loud. No. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Nothing is loud. Nothing. Not an explosion. Not a fart. Not a gunshot. I can't get the volume to go up. It's both the Series X and the PS5. Maybe it's a setting on the television. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot and there's some kind of an audio setting for HDMI devices, but the minute I use the actual Blu-ray player, my old Sony Blu-ray player, I can turn the volume up as loud as I need it to go. I don't know, man. Go to party, then toggle from headphones to controller, and you can there. The next time I'll look it up. I swore I looked it up, and it was like a common complaint that people had. They couldn't get it to go up. So I don't know. I feel like I went into the audio settings on my PS5 and I fiddled and I fiddled and I fiddled and I was like, it's super quiet. I don't know what we're doing here. I can't hear anything. I had the same problem recently. I know exactly what you're talking about, says Roland. Yeah, or Roland. Sounds like a TV issue. It doesn't do it to the Blu-ray player though. The Blu-ray player, I can turn it up to where like it's so loud, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna blow the speakers. But the Xbox and the PlayStation, if I put a DVD or a Blu-ray in there, it's like there's an audio cap on the device. I can't get the TV goes 29, 30, 40, blah, 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 and the volume just stays exactly the same level. I don't know. It's very, very weird. It's because your TV is decoding it in Dolby True, and the TV can decode that, but it'll never be loud. Huh. The music is normal, but the talking is quiet. Nothing is loud or normal. The entire movie is quiet. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. I don't know what it is. It's stupid. I just used the Blu-ray player. That was an easier solution than all the stuff y'all are talking about. Because like I went into the settings on the devices. I never went into the settings on the TV. And frankly, it was faster just to plug in a Blu-ray player. I was like, I'm freaking over this. This is annoying. We're sitting here watching old Christmas movies like that. Anyway, that's not the topic. We don't need to spend any more time troubleshooting old man Lono's technical issues. Microsoft has quietly increased the price of Xbox gift cards for Microsoft Rewards users. I thought they did that a while ago. Huh. No, Haseo, I've never jump scared myself. I think one of the things, too, is I think a lot of people have asked this question about the PlayStation 6 timing. There's a video on YouTube fixing it. Oh, so it's a known problem? I didn't go to YouTube. I went to Google. You sure you're not just going deaf? Even my kiddos complained, and kids' ears are like really sensitive. So, one of the other issues with the PlayStation 6 timing that we haven't really talked about is, and I think this is a valid question, how long can the PS5 gen go? Like, I think it's valid to be like, wait, isn't this hardware? I think there's two hardware outdated concerns that could potentially crop up. Is the PS5 itself going to become outdated? So that in like 2032, we're like, what the frick? But also there's the concern, like, is the PS6 going to be outdated when it finally comes out? If everything gets slowed down due to production costs or RAM costs or whatever. I actually don't think there's a concern on either front of them becoming outdated. I think the PS5 will be essentially what it is now, a reliable box. I think the Steam machine's also going to change things. I don't think the Steam machine's going to saturate the market to the degree of like a Nintendo or a PlayStation, but I think the Steam machine is really, really going to justify devs being like, we don't need to shoot for the moon here. We don't need to shoot for the moon. If the PlayStation 5 does a good job saturating the market and people are buying things like Steam machines, also handhelds are in here, people are buying Steam Decks and Steam machines, Steam Decks and Nintendo Switch 2s. I mean, I actually don't think we're in grave danger of being like, oh man, this hardware's so outdated, the poor devs can't use them. If the vast majority of people booting up PCs, handhelds, Steam machines, PlayStation 5s are like, this is just fine for me, man. These are perfectly capable machines. I don't know, unless somebody thinks differently and wants to argue it. I don't think we're going to be walking into like 2030 and 2031 stressing about, oh no, that these machines are just so outdated and these poor developers have to keep, developing for them. Hang on one second. I need to do something. Oh, okay. So yeah, and listen, that's just the PS5. There's also the consideration of like the PS6 being outdated when it comes out. How about Game Pass getting Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? What are you asking me? Like, are you just saying how about it? I mean, that's obviously great for anybody who's still on Game Pass. A lot of people, myself included, aren't on there anymore. So I mean, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a great game. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 got a free next-gen update on the consoles. Personally, I'm okay with PS3 graphics as long as we get modern-gen control schemes. I don't mind older graphics, but I want the physics, like the way the player and the character moves around, and I want the performance to not be PS3. It was Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, wasn't it? Oh, did Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 get added to Game Pass, not Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? I think you might be confused then, maybe, Dan. Maybe it was. Maybe it was just the first game because they pushed out that free update. It was like a next gen update. It's both of them, or is it both of the things that we're saying? Coming. Oh no, yeah, no, it is. It is. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is coming to Xbox Game Pass along with like Witcher 3, Towerborn, Final Fantasy 3, Death Howl, College Football 26, Dice Million. Yeah. I mean. Cool, good for the folks that are rocking. Good for the folks that are rocking the Game Pass still. A lot of us canceled. I had it for a really long time, and I finally canceled it. 809 Lion says, I don't think we will see huge differences in the new machines anymore. How much better can they get? That's something I've been saying for a while, Lion. I think that the PlayStation 6 is going to be more focused on visual lift than like resolution lift. And like it's going to be about image quality lift and not about like raw power. Does that make sense? Like I don't know. I think people need to adjust expectations. Here is one thing that I think is going to happen though. I think this is a somewhat easy prediction to make. I think the longer people have to wait, the more that they are going to be like, yeah, I expected more from this thing. I think that is one of the dilemmas facing Sony, is that if you have to push this thing out to 2029, and people are like, hey, the last console came out 9 years ago, you're going to have headlines of like, almost a decade later, the next PlayStation finally launches. Well, people are going to have expectations that are high. Are they reasonable? It's not about being reasonable. It's just about, hey, it's been almost a decade. This thing better be impressive. So it's going to be, I'm curious how Mark Cerny and AMD and PlayStation are going to decide to position the thing as far as, how do you... I don't think what they did with this is the right idea. Like what they did with this PS5 Pro presentation, where they were showing like zoom ins on pixels and things. I don't think this went over really well. This thing got really, really downvoted. PS5 Pro is now selling better than they expected, but there's that downvote ratio. If only Sony knew that when you get brigaded against and downvoted, it means you're going to fail. Except it didn't work against this or Yote. I've got guys that watched my video about High Guard. They made it all the way to the section where I said, everybody brigaded against Yote, and it surpassed its predecessor and like outsold Call of Duty in North America. And they're like, yeah, but that's not true though. They were really slick in their wording and how they said it. And I'm like, you guys are really looking silly at this point. You're really trying to hold on and cling to some weird thing like the CFO of Sony gives a frick about grifting YouTubers and false narratives about Yote, that she used slick wording about Yote. Like, what about the third-party sales reports that showed that it outperformed Call of Duty in North America? How did it do that if all your grifting and hate and brigading worked? Like, what are we doing here? The last big quality of life was loading times, which has become so much better in this generation of machines. Well, I think the big push they're gonna push on the PlayStation 6 is gonna be lighting. They're gonna have to push lighting. They're still saying it flopped. I just think there's never been a more pathetic display of denial. I mean, they're up there with the High Guard devs. You know what I mean? They are right up there with the high guard devs and looking absolutely just pathetic and in denial. It's like the game didn't flop. I mean, you tried to say that Split Fiction was going to flop, and you tried to go after Monster Hunter and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and you tried to go after AC Shadows, and you tried to go after Yotei, and it's like, I've never watched so many at-bats strike out insisting they hit home runs. Like, it's just like, okay. You know, they have facilities for people that are that disconnected from reality. Jiminy Christmas. They're talking about slick wording, the people that believe everything Phil says. I don't even think the people going against Yotei are even Xbox guys. I think they're like the guys that hate everything that looks a certain way. You know, the guys that, you know, were bedwetting over the lead character in Intergalactic. I don't know. I thought they shut down the asylums. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. The idea that a company the size of Sony cares about this and like was dishonest with shareholders about a game is just silly. Flop or not, the game was not as good as the first. That's completely immaterial to the discussion. I don't like in the discussion of whether or not you can brigade against a good game. You as an individual person not liking it doesn't even get onto the pie chart. We're not talking about that. There are plenty of people who love Tsushima and didn't like Yotei as much. I feel like they're almost a tie. I mean, I think they're both excellent. I think the combat system is significantly better in Yotei. I think the story is slightly better in Tsushima, but I think the acting, especially with the Japanese voice actors, I think that the acting and the gravity of some of the scenes and stuff are better in Yotei. Like, it's definitely a bit of a back and forth between them, a bit of a tug of war, but that doesn't matter. The point is, people tried to brigade against it, tried to claim it was going to flop and did flop, and it quite clearly did not. Like, they failed. You can brigade and downvote trailers all you want. It didn't do anything to the game. The game was a very, very strong success. When we get to lifetime sales and sales trajectories and hard numbers, it's going to be even more clear. I don't know what they're going to do when that happens. The main character syndrome to think that, like, your videos and your brigading on Twitter and YouTube, like, Sony gives a frick. Like, it's just like, this is a company that doesn't pay any attention to this. There were rumors flying around about secret exclusivity deals for Black Myth Wukong. IGN falsely quoted a Sony shareholders call, and instead of saying we were entering into the latter half of the PS5 gen, IGN literally changed the word to latter stages. You know what Sony did? They didn't say a dadgum thing because they don't pay any attention to this nonsense. They don't. It doesn't matter to them. They're a globally renowned, respected tech company. They don't give a frick about all this nonsense. To think that, like, the Sony CFO is like, oh no, there were some YouTubers that made some videos about Yotei. We better make sure and fudge the numbers. Like, you're going to risk being dishonest to your shareholders because of some grifters on YouTube and Twitter? Like, the notion that they did that is absurd. I mean, it's absurd to think that companies of this size pay attention or give a frick to what we say on YouTube. Like, what? Come on. The whole thing is stupid. Oh, this is what he was talking about. Oh, okay, hang on. So Insider Gaming is reporting that Clickout Media, owner of The Escapist, pivots to AI, holds mass layoffs. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Clickout Media, owner of websites such as Esports Insider and The Escapist. Esports Insider, that sounds familiar to me, has told its staff they are being laid off. The layoffs come just a week after they began laying off freelancers and pausing all future freelance hires. Sad to say that my role at The Escapist is up for redundancy, and that means a lot of things that I'm still not quite getting my head around, says Lloyd Coombs. Insider Gaming understands that the company is making a heavy pivot to AI content, resulting in almost all of its editorial staff being let go. It was said that Clickout Media will be maintaining a skeleton crew of AI editors. Dear Lord. It is also believed that employees being let go are being forced to sign an NDA from speaking publicly about the layoffs, at risk of not receiving their severance payouts. The wonderful weaponization of severance and non-disparaging agreements. Insider Gaming has reached out to Clickout Media for comments on the layoffs and the AI pivot. I tell you what my advice to everybody signing one of these NDAs is. You can speak anonymously to the press and they'll never trace it back to you. That would be my advice. You can speak anonymously to the press. That's freaking ridiculous, especially if there was any wrongdoing. You can't enforce a non-disclosure agreement on any wrongdoing. Like, if there's no wrongdoing, you just want to talk to the press, just do it anonymously. That's what I would say. I would not at all keep quiet if you feel like the company did things wrong or didn't handle things on the up and up. It's just ridiculous. Have you restarted Alan Wake 2? No, I have not. I did over the weekend and remembered how fantastic, innovation, creepy thriller game. I have not. Last night I played a little bit more of BlazBlue Entropy Effect X. I got really far. I think I fought 4 bosses. I think the 5th boss got me. It was like a girl with an umbrella or something. And I almost got her. I'm slowly learning how it works. Like, you play all that way with a particular character, and then all the abilities that they unlock, you can then, like, imprint on the next character that you play as. So it's a very interesting way to play a game like that. I really, really like it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, quote-unquote, finish BlazBlue Entropy Effect, though. It seems like a game that almost kind of, like, never ends. Almost like it's just kind of fun to play every now and again. It's really fun. It's super responsive. I don't know if I'm even going to try and roll credits on the God of War Sons of Sparta game. I just look at it now, and I just have no desire to open it. I had a guy leave a comment. It was hysterical to me. So a guy left a comment about me being negative about the God of War game. And he was like, Lono plays the game for an hour and praises it and then sees that the community is turning on it, so he changes his opinion. He's like, we see you. And I'm like, it's interesting that you say we see you. I streamed the game a second time the day it came out. And on the Twitch stream said, I don't think this is good. I don't think I like this. I tweeted same day that I don't recommend it. And you know what happened? I got way more disagreement than agreement. I don't feel like the public agrees with me. It has a strong user score in the PlayStation storefront. The idea is like, have you ever watched my content? You think I give a frick what the public says? Like, I won't go against the public if I think something? Like, I debated hotly people on the PSN login requirement for Helldivers 2. And yesterday, spent the vast majority of the day talking about God of War Sons of Sparta, and chat, for the most part, didn't agree with me. Everybody was ripping David Jaffe up one side and down the other for his takes on it. I'm like, you think I give a frick what the public thinks about a game? Like, I'm like, oh no, I better change my position because the public doesn't like the God of War game. Have you ever watched my content? When have I ever gone with the public? When have I ever been like, I better change my position? When? The ponies don't agree with you? Yeah, the guys that are super pro Sony and would proudly wear the label of pony are out here acting like the game's amazing and people are just hating on it. It's like, you actually think I've ever done that in the history of my channel? Been like, you know, people are really flipping on this game. I better go negative. Like, I've never done that. If I don't like something, I'll just say, I don't like it. Like, I don't know. How about Silksong? Like, renowned, highly praised, Game of the Year nominated, one of the highest reviewed games last year. The public was like, are you crazy, Lono? I can't believe you're not playing. And I was like, yeah, I don't like the runbacks. I'm not going to freaking play it. The idea that I measure public feedback to shape my opinion is laughably inaccurate. Like, if anything, I go against the public to a fault sometimes, and I piss people off. You even had a sponsored stream and critiqued its flaws. Yeah, I was literally doing a sponsored stream of God of War Sons of Sparta on Twitch. Once the sponsored segment was over, I was like, even during the sponsored segment, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's on me. Maybe I just need to get better at the timing or something. As soon as the sponsored segment was over, I was like, I don't know, boys. I don't think this is very good. And then my criticisms got to a fever pitch when I played it off stream and I started recording footage and putting it into the Discord for people on Saturday. was like, yeah, I went and recorded footage of like forward momentum criticisms and contact damage criticisms and like visual clarity, criticisms. I did all of that. I just fabricated all that because the public started to turn on Sons of Sparta. You really pegged me there. I was like, Jiminy Christmas. It's like people just can't take when you don't like something that they like. It's like, gee, money. Zyversword with 22 months. Thank you so much. Let me add you to the total. We all know you pivoted on Kirby Air Riders. It was your game of the year until it didn't get a nom. Yeah, dude. I was like, Jiminy. You're their king. They didn't like that you had a negative opinion on it. I don't think, for people that really, really like PlayStation, I don't think I have a track record of being like, oh yeah, PlayStation can do no wrong. Like, I don't know. I think I ticked a lot of people off when I was heavily critical of them with the PSN thing, the required PSN login. I don't know. I have no problem with people not liking a game. I have a problem with people going on and on about games they don't like. I prefer conversations about games you do like. You know what, Corey? Let me relieve you of that problem. There you go. Fanboys are miserable no matter what team pom-poms they're on. My kid bought like the God of War game and turned it off after an hour, so I gave it a spin. Yeah, the game's not good. The hit feedback is terrible. The platforming is jank. Art is generic. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, Dirge. I don't know. Wild the level of defense that game is getting. Absolutely wild. They made a song with you in it. You're their king. I'm not anybody's king. I'm not anybody's king. There's only one king. I used to feel like that. I used to feel like I had to justify liking something, like if somebody said that, and now I just don't care. Like, I genuinely understand, like, when somebody has a go at, the first Hellblade, or Tsushima or something. Like, I definitely am like, hey. But I'm to the point now where I'm like, that's fine. Like, whatever, dude. Like, you don't have to like it. Lona was right about the stupid Series S holding back the Series X the whole gen. I've noticed something, Mike. I've noticed something. This is the cycle. If you come out and predict and say, I think this is going to be bad, people are like, no, it's not. It's going to be awesome. You're just being a hater. Okay? And then the thing comes along and it's bad. And the minute you get on the other side of it being bad and you're like, yeah, see, I told you it was going to be bad. They're like, why do you have to keep fixating on it? Why can't you just let it go? Why can't you just move on? It's like, wait a minute. It's like the minute the bad thing happens, the minute it becomes clear ABK might not have been a good idea, the minute it becomes clear that, like, the Series S was a problem, people are like, can you just drop it and move on? It's like, I don't think High Guard's going to be any good, guys. It comes out and it crashes and it burns. And I make a whopping, 3 videos spread out over 3 months. That's like a video a month. 1 video a month. I'm like, can you just move on and stop talking about this? It's like one of the most insane stories in gaming. People did the same thing with Concord. They're like, can we just move on from talking about Concord? It's like, what do you mean? If we were waiting and waiting for a building to be built downtown, and when they unveiled it, it fell over and crushed a bunch of other buildings, you wouldn't be like a day later, I can't believe the news is still talking about this. Why can't you guys just move on? I mean, it was a catastrophic failure, and it got the attention of the entire world. But can you just move on from talking about it? It's been a whopping 24 hours. It's been a whole 24 hours. Yeah, hang on a minute. Yeah, there you go. I'm only on PlayStation Fan because it's the best. It's the best for you. It's the best for you. Doesn't mean it's the best. What is this? Oh, okay, never mind. Holy mackerel. If something I like is bad, I like to hear why people think it's bad. Yeah, I don't mind hearing if somebody thinks something's bad. Like if somebody thinks like Tsushima's bad or, Hellblade 1 is bad, you know what I mean? I don't mind. Usually I feel like, I don't know. I think when I decide to criticize something, I attempt to criticize at a deep level. And this commonly has people saying, "Oh, you're nitpicking." And it's like, "No, I'm trying to be specific instead of generic." Does that make sense? Like I feel like a lot of the times somebody, and listen, there's no impetus on you to write like a diatribe or a research paper on why you didn't like a game. If you didn't vibe with the game, you can just say that, right? But I feel like a lot of the times, my expectation is that somebody's going to go as deep as I do. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Why didn't you like it? And they're like, I just didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I'm like, well, what about it was boring? I thought the combat was lame. Well, what about it? And listen, a lot of times they're like, I don't know. I just didn't like blah, blah, blah. And listen, the truth is, that's a completely legitimate reason to put a game down. But that doesn't mean I have to take your position very seriously if it's not super thought out. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's completely legitimate to just sort of shrug off a game and be like, yeah, I thought it was boring, I didn't like it. I'm not going to take your criticism all that seriously, though, if you don't go beyond that. I'm going to be like, okay, that's fine. It doesn't seem like you really thought about the systems and broke anything down. It just seems like you really, shrugged at the game very quickly. And then when I go into a game, like I did yesterday with God of War Sons of Sparta, and people like, I don't know why you're doing this. Why are you fixating on this? Why are you ranting about this? Why are you nitpicking? It's like, because I feel like that's a better way to criticize a game, to be thoughtful, to put meat on the bones, to have more to say than just it sucks. That's just the way my mind works. Like, if I'm going to tell you why a show, movie, or a game sucks, I'm going to give you a lot of particulars. If you want to call that nitpicking or, oh man, you're just fixating on this or whatever, like, I don't think I'm going to be talking about God of War Sons of Sparta in 2 months, the way that we're probably going to always refer back to like Concord and Highguard, because they're like fixtures in the market, like fixture failures. Like you can go back and look at them as like a fixture of like, that is a great example of utter failure. I think that's why those games, consistently get referred to. That's a great example. I don't think I'm going to do that with every game that disappoints me. I don't go back and rehash. Like, I don't think I've mentioned Hellblade 2 for a couple of years, and then somebody wanted to know, like, what was your most disappointing game this gen? And I was like, Hellblade 2 is the most disappointing game. And this guy's like, there are plenty other worse games like Gollum. And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't looking forward to those games, so they couldn't disappoint me. Like being a game, like looking at a game and saying, this is the most disappointing game. Like that, like this year. If like Control Resonant comes out and it's glitchy, buggy, messy, not interesting or not at quality, I'm like, man, that's like the most disappointing game for me this year. I'm not going to be like, oh no, Highguard was the most disappointing game from this year, because I wasn't looking forward to it. Something can't disappoint you if you don't have expectations of it. You know what I mean? It would be like, if my son wrecked his bike being reckless, and then a random stranger wrecked their car on my street and took out a tree, and someone's like, what was the most disappointing accident on your street? I'd be like, when my son wrecked his bike being reckless. How could you possibly say that? There was a bigger wreck right there. I don't care. They didn't disappoint me. They're a stranger. I didn't have any expectations of them. Like, if I don't have expectations of a game, it can't disappoint me. Like, I feel like a lot of the times when we get into these conversations about like criticism or disappointment or like why I don't like a game or whatever, I think everybody has like a different threshold of analysis, which is completely fine. If you try out a game like Sons of Sparta or Hellblade 2 and you're like, I thought it was fun, I had a good time, that's fine. God love you. Sometimes I wish I could just play games like that. It was like when I told people that when we were talking about 30 FPS a couple years ago, and I'm like, if you can still tolerate 30 FPS, man, I would just keep going until you can't, because I can't do it. If a game comes out and it has poor performance, and the best way to run it is like, the quality mode at 30, I'm like, I can't do it. And if you can, man, I'm jealous of you at some level. If you can just like play a game and get genuine enjoyment from something that I am being very disappointed by, at some level I'm jealous of you. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could have booted up the God of War Sons of Sparta game last night and just kept moving along through the game and clearing the map. But like, I just knew what awaited me was frustration and a lack of fun. And I'm like, I can't do it. So it's okay. I think it's okay if your threshold of like analysis of a game is more, and I mean this with love, like if it's a little bit more superficial, it's like, well, I'm having fun or I thought it was boring. And that's about the level that you go. I think that's totally fine. Just don't expect me or others to take it all that seriously if you don't go beyond just like a surface level drive-by insult or surface level drive-by praise. It's like, well, I don't have anything to go on other than that you liked or didn't like something. I just can't do that. My brain, I get too analytical. Like I broke down every system and every method of content loop and player incentivization in Destiny for like 5 years. Like it's just the way that I look at a game. It's just how I don't know why I do it that way. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm so quick to get really frustrated with a game is because if I see the rough edge, if I bump up against the rough edge, I'm like, man, frick this. Like I instantly go into that analytical mode. And I think a lot of people don't like that, and some people, and a lot of people do like that. It just depends on what you're looking for when someone's critiquing a game. I put 20 hours into Sons of Sparta. Loading screens and death screens are horrible. I feel like the game is held together by duct tape. Chrono, did you notice something? That when you lose a fight in that game, sometimes the screen goes black for like a really, really long time, and then all of a sudden you hear, It's like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden it spawns you. Yeah. It's definitely got some oddities in it. Some really weird behavior. It's like it can't transition from you dying to the previous loading screen very smoothly. A couple of times I literally thought the game was going to crash. I don't know. A game has 1 hour to hook me. If you can't hook me in an hour, see you. I'm giving you an hour of my time. I demand that time to be respected. In general, I have told people, not all games, but the vast majority of games, Dirge, I feel like if you can't hook me in the first hour, you're probably not going to hook me. If you're combat, if you're jumping, if you're platforming, if that loop isn't fun in that first hour, it probably isn't going to change. I couldn't tell in Borderlands 4, but I'm usually super sensitive to stuff like that. What could you not tell in Borderlands 4? I think the general view has caused a massive sway to the AAA games are bad. It's not a true statement, but it's because a lot of games with bug expectations have not delivered. I mean, I had a guy in response to the High Guard coverage yesterday. He literally said, yeah, the AAA industry is in a shambles. And he was relating it to the access journalism. I'm like, what the frick are you talking about? There were so many amazing AAA games last year. Like, what do you mean? That's why I haven't played Death Stranding. I'm bored and annoyed right off the bat. Yeah, that's one of the very, very few games, Odin, that I tell people you could actually, I think that's one you can push through and enjoy. I think it's a really, really hard sell. The first 4 hours, it's like a freaking show, and you're doing very, very little. That the first Death Stranding is a tough sell. It's one of the few games I say you actually can push through in Death Stranding and enjoy it. I did. Yeah, I did. But I actually agree and respect the decision of somebody who's like, no, I'm not going to do that. My time is too valuable, because I kind of agree with you. Your time is immensely valuable, and gambling on a game that you might get into the third, fourth, or fifth hour and still not like it, I think it's completely legitimate for you to say, nope, I'm not doing that. I think you're well within your right to do that. The first 4 hours, yeah, the first 4 hours of Death Stranding 1, it's like super slow. It takes forever to get going. I mean forever. It's one of the longest onboarding. It's like the opening of Cyberpunk. The onboarding is ridiculous. Hasbro shuts down AAA Studios' Atomic Arcade that was working on the G.I. Joe game based on Snake Eyes. Yeah, I saw that reported yesterday. No Snake Eyes game. The High Guard website is down. It's only a matter of time, boys. It's only a matter of time. That game is living on borrowed time. Borrowed time. Sometimes a slow story is necessary. Gamers got to allow for some plot buildup. I think it's give and take, Yanadid. I think that the developer needs to understand, the medium that they're in. If you expect me to give your game 20 hours, don't make me spend 3 to 4 hours in the mud, just the tire spinning of like, man, this is really not going anywhere. You know, I think that's a very, very risky choice. The street goes both ways. The street goes both ways. So, now on the subject, because we're getting a little off subject. We are on subject, but we kind of aren't on subject. Because we are talking about like PlayStation games. And the PlayStation 6 being potentially delayed. Snake Eyes is bringing up where I was going next over there on Twitch. Are we getting PSSR this year? I think what you mean is the PSSR 2.0 update. From what I have been able to observe and hear from, you know, the leaky annals of the gaming world, it seems as though the PSSR 2.0 update will be here in time for Resident Evil. Or at the very least, that'll be one of the first games that shows it off. I don't know if they'll push it out before Resident Evil, but it seems like that's going to be one of the first games to show off the new PSSR. And then obviously it'll be here in time for Soros. Soros is like late April. So I don't think Soros is meant to be the first showcase of it, though. I think the first major showcase of PSSR 2 is intended to be Resident Evil 9. And that's obviously for the PSVR. That's for the PS5 Pro, which I believe what they're doing with the PS5 Pro and PSSR, that's going to be a continued thing. I believe that's going to continue like all the way to the PlayStation 6. The PS6 release date is likely, you know, getting either delayed, shoved out, or moved again in relation to what's going on with RAM and all sorts of other things. And so I would imagine everything that they are doing with the PS5 Pro is at some level related to that. I think that's what they're doing, personally. They're testing. It's kind of like what we saw with No Man's Sky. Like No Man's Sky's been testing things inside of No Man's Sky, and all those things seem to be related to Light No Fire. I think similarly, PlayStation's going to continue to test things within the PS5 Pro, specifically for the PS6. I just think people need to temper your expectations for PSSR 2. It basically needs to fix everything broken with it already. Paul, did you intentionally type something dumb, or did you let somebody else type for you? I'm actually kind of curious. That's really dumb. Why are you typing such a dumb thing? What do you mean? It basically needs to fix everything broken with it already. Please bless us with your knowledge of everything broken with PSSR. Can you please outline all the things that are broken? Like 100-something PS5 Pro enhanced games, and there were maybe 5 that had issues that almost all have been resolved. The Silent Hill situation was resolved. The Black Ops situation was resolved. What are we doing here, brother? What you are postulating that the update to PSSR 2 is coming in and fixing everything that's broken. It should always look better, and it doesn't. Platitudinous and empty. I asked you to outline what is broken with PSSR 2. Please expound on that. It's part of your argument. Feel free right now to stop asserting something and now argue something categorically different. I can assert that you're blonde, right? I'd have to argue it with evidence. I don't have any evidence. I don't have a picture of you, right? So I can assert it all day long. You're blonde. You have blonde hair. Yep, you have blonde hair and a mustache. Okay, I can assert that all day long. I can't argue it without evidence. So provide argumentation that PSSR 2 is going to fix all the things that are broken. What is broken with PSSR? Implementation from third-party companies was inconsistent in a couple of instances that was then improved. Like the Black Ops developers literally said, oh yeah, we already figured that out. You have to go in and do some denoising. They had already figured it out. They worked hand in hand with Sony to figure it out. So you're saying it's broken. How? And your platitude of it should always look better and it doesn't. So there's examples of it not being perfectly implemented. Same thing happened with DLSS and FSR. Nobody would argue that they were broken in their earliest implementations. They have obviously since been polished and improved. That's, part of it. 5.50. So you have another third-party game that has implemented PSSR and it needs some revision in Neo 3. Something we have seen in games like Silent Hill and Black Ops. So I appreciate you conceding the point that it's not broken. It's simply been implemented in a way by another company that now needs some revision. So PSSR isn't the problem. You've now supplied information that the issue would be the developers themselves with respect to how it's been implemented, as evidenced by the Black Ops developers saying, yeah, we already figured out how to fix that. It's a denoising process that needs to take place. You've simply provided evidence that another company has implemented it in a way that needs to be improved. That doesn't mean that PSSR is broken. Like, that's why I said, like, did you let somebody else grab your phone? What you typed is so dumb. You know it's not even substantiated. There's nothing broken about PSSR. You sound like, you literally sound like somebody fresh off one of those podcasts that just says things about Sony that aren't true, brother. Come on. We don't need to spin tires on nonsense. The only issue I read was that the devs were on different builds. Hardware upscaling should always look better than software-based upscaling. So I want you to think about what you're saying. You've once again typed something that is so fundamentally just dumb, brother. So hardware upscaling should always look better than software-based scaling. So what you're saying is that there will never be an instance of a company that does bad implementation. Maybe there's an engine conflict. Maybe something within their own textures and lighting mapping, there's some sort of a conflict that's causing an issue, and they've got to figure it out specific to their build and specific to their game. But according to your platitude, hardware upscaling should always look better. There could never be an instance of somebody having a bug or a glitch or some faulty programming, or maybe somebody made a mistake, or again, maybe something specific to the game and its engine is causing an issue. Like when the Black Ops guys figured it out, they were like, oh, yeah, we need to do some denoising. That right there proves that like it had nothing to do with PSSR. There wasn't like a hardware issue. It was oh yeah, we had to go in and do this change. The same thing happened with DLSS and FSR. Like they had to revise it and make improvements at a level, but even the companies that were implementing it needed to do a better job. Right now, FrameGen is a great example. You could look at the way FrameGen was implemented in Black Myth Wukong on consoles. Is it FrameGen's fault? Is FrameGen bad technology? Or did the Black Myth Wukong developers do a bad job implementing it? Which is it? Do you see? Like, this is why I said, like, why are you saying something that's so silly? You know what you're saying is utter idiocy, brother. Like, you're not making a good argument. It doesn't even feel good faith. It feels like you're just spouting off talking points. Like, yeah, PSSR is broken. PSSR 2 is just going to fix everything that's broken. Can you provide evidence that's broken? And you provide evidence with third-party developers that are implementing it in a way that needs to be fixed. Okay? FrameGen on console? Yes. Black Myth Wukong utilized FrameGen in a way that Digital Foundry called it an abuse of the technology. Does that mean that FrameGen is bad and broken when a developer uses it in a bad way? So do we think that PSSR 2 will be beating by software upscaling after the update? What's interesting is nobody has said anything about what PSSR 2 is going to do. Nobody. Not me. Nobody in chat. Nobody said anything about what it was going to do. You said temper expectations. I didn't hear anybody espousing expectations. You were shadowboxing and then said something absurd. Like, what? Huh? Like, nobody said anything about expectations of PSSR. All I said was it's going to demonstrate exactly what I think we're going to see all the way to PlayStation 6 launch, is that they're going to use the PlayStation 5 Pro as a testing environment. The same way like No Man's Sky is testing things out that I think are going to be implemented in Light No Fire. I didn't say anything about what I expect from PSSR 2. I simply said it's going to be an improvement, and all the way to the PS6 launching, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to be utilizing as a testing environment, like, oh, we can make the algorithm better. We can make the upscaling better. We can fix some of these issues. Oh, maybe they're getting feedback from the developers and they're like, oh, okay, there's this one particular thing that's causing the developers problems. We can improve that in, PSSR 3 or whatever the frick they're planning next. They've got a lot of time between now and the PlayStation 6. Nobody, not me, not anybody in chat was saying, oh yeah, PSSR 2 is going to be mind-blowing. I said, I think the first time it shows up and the first time they show it off is Resident Evil 9. And I think it's going to look impressive from what we've heard and what we've seen for Resident Evil 9. I actually think it is going to look pretty good. I don't think that's over the top as an expectation or a prediction, like, at all. Has Sony talked about PSSR 2? No, they've not. It's a leak. It's a very reliable and, I think, accurate leak that is coming. I think it's understandable. Well, Mark Cerny didn't officially give a date, but he did indicate that an update was coming. So I guess that is true. There was an official announcement that PSSR is getting an update, and it's sometime this year. The leaks are that it's coming prior to March or something like that. So Mark Cerny did, in fact, say there is an update coming. Did Mark Cerny sit down with an AMD rep and talk about further integration in the future, implying PSSR will be more in line with FSR, which is now hardware accelerated? He essentially indicated that Mark Cerny indicated two things. He indicated that FSR 4 was the first major result from the Project Amethyst relationship with AMD, and that the algorithm advancements that they had made with FSR 4 was essentially going to come back and be implemented and dropped into PSSR to update it. It is still going to be PSSR. There were people that were out there running with complete false summaries and false headlines saying things like FSR is going to replace PSSR, PSSR failed. These were falsehoods that people were running with. You don't have to look very far to find who was doing this, but it was a complete misrepresentation of what the man said. They were not going to put FSR 4 on the Pro. They were taking algorithmic elements of it, the algorithm itself, and bringing it over to then update PSSR to make it more similar, but they're going to be bouncing that ball back and forth. Elements of FSR 4 benefited from Sony and PSSR within the Project Amethyst relationship, and now some of those benefits in FSR 4 are getting kicked back to PSSR update. To the PSSR update, I should say. Yeah, we will probably be doing, unless major news breaks today, we will probably be doing a Crimson Desert show tomorrow. So I'm not going to be doing any discussion about that today. More and more information comes out. More and more tweets are coming out. I continue to have very, very serious reservations about that game, and we'll be discussing more of that tomorrow. Talking about how there's just a lot of confusion, even about some of the headlines with microtransactions. And I've done a ton of research and a ton of diving into threads and responses and replies, and we'll be doing that show tomorrow. Do me a favor, if you guys haven't done so already, we're 2 hours into the broadcast. Try to get us to 300 likes. Make sure and hit that like button, and you can help us with the gold down in the corner. You can renew, you can use a Prime, you can do all the things, you can gift. And if that gets to 500 by the end of the week, we do a stream with my wife on Saturday. So thank you guys so much for being here. Will the new version of PSSR automatically be applied? It'll be a system update that you download. Your PlayStation will just download it. Your PS5 Pro, it'll be like a system update. Lots of red flags. Yeah. Game of the year incoming? No, I don't think so. Be shocked. Hidden Siriu drops a 10 bomb on YouTube. He's like, boys, we need to kick it into high gear. If you want to be on pace, you need to end today at 200. And thank you for the 10 bomb, Mr. Hidden Siriu. Petrov is dreaming big with the farty bomb emote. We don't really get those anymore, Petrov. We got a couple on Saturday to make me play high guard. So I appreciate you spamming that, or not spamming that, or putting that in chat. Drive by to give you the like. Thank you so much. Just so we're clear, Snake Eyes, if you're going to watch on Purple, you don't need to do that. Watching on YouTube for like half a second to give a like, yeah, you can just hang out on Twitch. That's fine. The people that regularly watch on YouTube, we can have them hit the like button. They'll take care of it. You don't need to leave Purple to come over and do that. That's really inconvenient to you. I'm keen to get your views on a PS6 delay and what it can mean for games confirmed coming to PS6. I don't think it means anything, SDO. I mean this. Like, that's not a dismissive answer. That's my answer. Let me explain. So, if the PlayStation 6 gets delayed, what also gets delayed is PS6 dev kit distribution. Okay? So, at the earliest, if production for this thing starts in the middle of 2027, dev kits could be going out around that time. And if the PlayStation 6 comes out in like 2029 instead of 2028, That is not a significant bump in the road for anything coming to PlayStation 6. It isn't. Now, a cross-gen game, maybe. Like a cross-gen game that's like, really, really banking on showing off PS6 tech, they might want to bump that. I don't think they will, though, because there are going to be so many PlayStation 5s in circulation by the time we get into like the end of 2028 that I don't think you're going to see some studio being like, well, we could ship in the holiday of 2028 and there's like 120 million PlayStation 5s in circulation, because GTA 6 and eventually Call of Duty is going to leave behind PlayStation 4, like we know this. When that happens, PlayStation 5 is going to have a surge in sales. So if you get to holiday of 2028, I don't think you're going to have some studio being like, we really need to wait because we really want to leverage tech on the PS6. They can leverage that tech later. Like, they're going to want sales. They're going to want to sell their game. I was thinking about Kojima's game. Yeah, but they said Fizzant is a long time away. I don't think... Apply what I'm saying, SDO. Everything I just said about the dev kits, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on a game like Fizzant, because Fizzant is in early stages of development right now. If it starts to enter development any day now and they start building things out, they're going to be speccing it out, building it out on the PS5. They will likely use the Decima engine. We know Kojima and Guerrilla have done great things together collaboratively within the Decima engine. So it's probably a fair assumption that Fizzant will be in the Decima engine. Yo, Mike Diesel, thank you for using the Prime. Your Prime sub over there on Purple. I appreciate it. So, they'll likely do the same thing. If the dev kits start rolling out mid-2027, I don't think Kojima's going to be like, oh yeah, we better kick this thing further down the road. They'll probably just start, experimenting and implementing different versions of the tech that's available on the PlayStation 6, which shouldn't be too difficult. The cartilage between the systems should be well established because you're going to have versions of PSSR that have been updated over the next couple of years on the PS5 Pro. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's going to have a major impact because there's going to be so many cross-gen games. I don't think there are going to be that many games that are PS6 exclusive. I'm going to be real with you. During the launch year of the PlayStation 6, I don't think there are going to be a lot of exclusives for it. There's going to be too many PlayStation 5s in circulation to ignore. One of the reasons, listen. This is I think a really, really good point I haven't made yet. One of the reasons that there were games that left behind the PS4, it was because of tech limitations with respect to SSD and the data controller. So the instantaneous loading in like Returnal and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and then I would say probably the graphical fidelity of the Demon's Souls remake, that was never going to work on the PS4. Okay, now track with me. The PS6, as I understand it, as it seems to be being signaled by Mark Cerny and PlayStation and everything we're hearing from the leaks, the PlayStation 6 is meant to be an extension and an elevation of the technology that's in the PS5 Pro. What does that technology do? Well, it comes in and it adds things like ray tracing, maybe some path tracing, I don't know, better processing, neural arrays, upscaling. None of those things, I don't think, are going to have a developer saying, oh, we definitely can only build for the PS6. All of those things sound to me like visual lift and image quality lifts that you can do to virtually any game that you've built for the PS5. So let's take Horizon 3 as an example. Imagine Horizon 3 launches and is a multiplat, or Spider-Man 3 launches, not a multiplat, that launches and it's a multi-gen. It's a multi-gen release. It's cross-gen release. I would imagine they're already building these games anyway for the PS5. And when they do, and then they all of a sudden they can build it and tweak it and improve it on the PS6, they'll bring all of those visual lifts and all those things with lighting and upscaling and image quality improvement. The difference there is you're not building the game around a piece of technology. You're lifting the game with the piece of technology. Does that make sense? It's like right now, you can't really build a game around the PS5 Pro. You come into an existing game, or you come into the game as you're developing it, and you add a visual lift with the PS5 Pro, whether you do it with the upscaling of PSSR, and then that gives you headroom to add in like ray tracing like they did in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So then you're getting like global illumination combined with 60 frames per second. The Assassin's Creed Shadows was not built around that technology. The way that like Ratchet and Clank and Returnal were built around the technology. This idea of like the SSD and the data controller and being able to do like instantaneous loading of environments and some of the portals and rifts and things the way they did in Ratchet, that wasn't possible on the PS4. And I know the people that hate on PlayStation and want to make up stories about them will be like, well, that one guy said that it totally was possible on the PS3. That guy didn't know what the frick he was talking about. None of that would have been possible back then. That was demonstrated by anybody who attempted to run that game on a PC that didn't have an SSD. It was like, yeah, this wouldn't have worked. There would have been loading, spinning, and glitches. Like, all that pontification and dishonesty went out the window when the game was actually tested in those environments. It was like, this wouldn't have been possible. You didn't have the SSD and the data controller, the I/O or whatever it's called. The way that the PlayStation 5 handles the data that enables them to do those things, that wasn't possible if you didn't have an SSD. And people were like, oh, a magical SSD? It was like, they weren't saying the SSD was magical, okay? You can get a printout of your PC on the body pillow so you can snuggle with it at night. Nobody's threatening your PC. The SSD was being pitted against the PS4 because the PS4 didn't have one. What people don't understand is when you go back in time and you look at the marketing of the PlayStation 5, they weren't marketing the PS5 against the PC. They were marketing the PS5 against the PS4 and saying, yeah, we couldn't do that stuff back then. The SSD enables us to do that. And people are like, your SSD is not magical or special. We've got that over here. And it's like, yeah, they weren't talking to you. It's like, who are you? It's like that scene in Lost where Jacob's like, what about you? It's like the marketing for the PlayStation wasn't considering people that were going to get all wound up about their SSD on their PC. It was literally about one generation to the next. We can now do this new thing. When we go from the PS5 to the PS6, I don't think that conversation is the same. I don't think that conversation is the same. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we definitely need to make a game only for the PlayStation 6. Now, there could be new elements of the neural arrays and the processing to where they do build some games specific to the PlayStation 6 that's able to do things with like load times and things that weren't maybe possible before. Like the instantaneous loading when you fast travel in Spider-Man is going to look probably like, wow, that was cool, but this is even cooler. I could see there maybe being one or two PlayStation 6 exclusives. I don't think there's going to be nearly as big of a push for it. I think your cross-gen support, period of time is going to be significantly, bigger and longer. It just it just stands to reason. Excuse me. The way that Mark Cerny spoke to Digital Foundry in that interview about how we need to start talking about image quality and stop talking about like the raw numbers, that to me is a loud and clear signal of where things are heading. They are not heading in an area of like, we got to push the raw power. We got to push the raw power. We got to push the we've got to push not just the raw power. We got to push the native higher, and when we push the native higher, we're going to be able to sell more. No, I don't think they're going to be selling it on that anymore. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be selling it on the visual lift, the lighting, things like that, which means they're going to have less motivation to do this like, oh, we're going to sell this machine on raw power. I just don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think you're going to see a lot less of a like PlayStation 6 exclusivity in that first year. Even this time around, it was less. It was only those 3 games at launch, and then it took like 4 years for them to basically say, "Oh, we're leaving behind the PlayStation 4 with like Spider-Man 2." I think you could see a very similar trajectory this time. Maybe not 3 games that are exclusive to the PlayStation 6, maybe 1 or 2. And then instead of it taking 4 years for them to kind of like leave behind the PlayStation 5 with like first party titles, they could wait 5 years. You know, we could be sitting in 2034 and still getting games on the PS5 from the first party devs. It's just such an absolutely enormous, you know, footprint potentially by that point. Doesn't mean the PS6 will have a slower adoption rate. Yeah, it will, Zinthos. Yep. I think they're anticipating that. If what we're hearing is true from Kepler, and they're going to be putting more RAM in there, and that potentially raises the price, and then it also comes out a little bit later, I think they're probably looking to slower ramp up for sure. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I think they've been very forward thinking with the technology. They've been very forward thinking with like, well, the technology needs to be, you know, the focus with respect to the upscaling. I think they're also focusing on, and a lot of people get mad at like the remasters and the remakes. I think one of the reasons that they did that, well, I'm serious. I think one of the reasons they did those remasters and those remakes is that they were establishing a library at a fidelity level that they feel like this is kind of where we're going to be for a while. Helen, I wonder if you're ever playing any fighting games since Marvel Tokon's coming out. I don't play fighting games. I'm terrible at them. Like, that's an understatement. Like, I'm absolute rubbish at them. They don't interest me, and I'm not very good at them. Everyone wants to push forward. I'm over here wanting to go backwards. Bring back 3 to 4 year dev cycles. Games taking 7 years needs to change. I think the minute you get beyond the 5th and the 6th year, Jakob, I think you're in trouble. Because I think it's too hard at that point to not have it feel slightly dated or out of touch. Now, this is one reason that single-player games are a safer bet in that regard. Like, if you're going to take 5 or 6 years for a single-player game, it's less likely that you're going to be, like, out of touch. But you can still have things that might feel a little bit dated. I still think 5 and 6 years is a perfectly acceptable release window. I think people are demanding a cadence of games that's absurd, and then they get upset when the games come out and they're not ready. It's like, well, do you want the games to be ready or do you want the game to come out? Like, which matters most to you? Okay. Reflex is so slow. Reflex is too slow. Nah, even when I was a kid, I didn't like them. When I was like a teenager with quick reflexes, and you know, I just didn't like them. I flocked to the shooters. I just didn't like sports games or fighting games. You know, part of it was because like my older brother and his friends were really good at the sports games, and they were also, really good at the fighting games. And so I was really good at GoldenEye. So you just gravitate to what you're good at. That's just kind of the way that it is. I just never found myself. I could throw down with Saberwolf in the first Killer Instinct. After that, I lost my touch. I could throw down with Fei Long in Super Street Fighter, but that's a lifetime ago. And I lost the taste for it. So I get why single players are on 5-year cycles. I don't understand why these free-to-play live service games take 5 years. I think more and more, if you're wanting to bring a live service game to the market, I think you're going to need to come out with a 2 to 3 year incubation project and let the public play it. I think PlayStation's going to potentially learn another really valuable lesson with respect to when Horizon Hunters Gathering comes out. I think they're going to learn another really valuable lesson. I mean it. I think when that game comes out, they're going to be like, oh shoot, we spent way too much time on this. There's no pivot. There's no significant changes that we can actually do. I mean it. I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to learn a really valuable lesson that they waited way too long. I don't think they're going to have enough time. Like when Horizon Hunters Gathering was in like its early like incubation stages or whatever, I think that if they would have brought it to the market, they would have gotten negative feedback on the art style and they could have made adjustments. They could have gotten negative feedback on the characters versus creating your own character, and they could have made adjustments, right? These are all really foundational things that are not easily changed, okay? So I think the dilemma and the challenge is so much of that now is extremely, extremely baked into the crust. And because of that, I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to change any of the things that people don't like about Horizon Hunters Gathering. I said this when Concord failed. I said, I think that PlayStation needs to start pushing out 2 to 3 year incubation projects, getting feedback and making adjustments. And if the game is going nowhere and nobody likes it, it's going to flop. You're in a much better place to kill it. You've only been working on it for 2 or 3 years. If they had walked out with Horizon Hunters Gathering 2 or 3 years into dev cycle and let people kind of try it out, and if after a couple of months or a month they were like, this is a non-starter, people don't like it, you could have killed it and had people working on what really mattered, which was, the next Horizon. Or had them helping with the Horizon MMO, which I think looks more promising and more appealing. Game as Service games really need in-depth surveys before they even start development. It's one of those things where, it's a moving target because, the public and their preferences is a moving target. Those are, I think... the public doesn't necessarily even know sometimes, what they want in a game until they play it. And they're like, yeah, this could be good, but... I remember when I worked for a guy who did, data solutions for businesses. And he would develop, front-end, stuff, software and stuff for, companies. And a lot of the times he said, listen, people will come to you and tell you what they think that they want, and then you build it for them, and they're like, oh, wait, actually? And then they have 18 things they want to have changed. I think games are very similar. When a game finally gets in front of you and you're like, I actually thought this was going to be really fun. I actually don't think it's that fun right now. LD dropped a video called I'm Sick of Being Blamed for Bad Games. It'd be cool to get your reaction. I already made my own video on that topic. I don't really need to react to LDs. I mean, mine's up right now. It's called They'll Fail Again. It's about High Guard. You know what I mean? It's always a little amusing. This happens in the Discord very often. People promote other people's content on a topic that I've covered. And it's they're like, you should watch this. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll make sure and do that after I already spent time and energy writing my own script and making my own video about that topic. And saying a lot of the same things. Look at all the Anthem revisions we know about. I mean, Anthem changed names. Anthem changed game type. Anthem changed... I don't even know. It was ridiculous how much they changed in Anthem before it came out. Didn't they have t-shirts or something? They were at an event and they changed the name and people had to give back the t-shirts that they had. It was wild. That the journey that game went on is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Thing is, in my opinion, Sony should be at a point where they don't need to waste time on games like Hunter's Gathering to learn a valuable lesson. Aren't they the market leader? I don't know what you seem to be arguing that they can't learn anything from letting the public play something. They should just automatically know it. I think that position doesn't make any sense to me. How could they possibly know? Just because they've had success doesn't mean they automatically know what people want. They thought when Horizon Hunters Gathering was greenlit that was a good idea. They're not alone in thinking that. A ton of other people thought that. A ton of other people thought that live service was a good place to go. But that's why they bought Bungie, right? For their experience with games as a service. Yeah, Bungie has since been onboarded to look at games that could either be fixed, killed, or brought to the market and be successful. But if you're going to look at games like Concord, it would be really disingenuous for me to be like, yeah, Bungie really helped. Look at how good Helldivers did. If Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls does really, really well, I'm not going to give Bungie credit. That would be disingenuous. It's equally disingenuous to lay Concord at Bungie's feet. Or if Horizon Hunters Gathering doesn't do very well, to lay that at Bungie's feet. I think that's disingenuous. I think that's intentionally bad faith. It would be just as bad faith and disingenuous for me to be like, well, Bungie's clearly crushing it. Look at all the live service money that Sony makes from Gran Turismo 7 and MLB The Show and Helldivers 2. Well, none of those things got under the scrutiny and under the watchful eye of Bungie before launching. So that would be really dishonest for me to do that. It's equally dishonest to count like Concord against Bungie, or to count like Horizon Hunters Gathering, which has been in development long before Bungie ever walked on the scene. Bungie had to go through an onboarding process. Now, from this point forward, yes, if Bungie doesn't bring their insight and their input into games as a service games from PlayStation, then they're not carrying their own weight. I believe Bungie already earned their keep in this department, particularly. I'm speaking to their live service expertise. They've already earned their keep. They kept Naughty Dog from launching a game that wasn't going to survive. Like, I don't think people understand the value of that. The value of saying, hey, you guys don't know what you're doing. You've never done this before. You're going to ship something attached to the Last of Us piece of property and name, and it's not going to survive. I talked about this yesterday. I feel that one of PlayStation's mistakes that they've made is they're treating their IP far too liberally. They're like, well, we could make a Horizon Lego game and a Horizon live service game and a Horizon MMO. We could do a God of War live service game. We should back this Concord thing. We should back this God of War, Sons of Sparta Metroidvania. And how many of these games have come to market and been bangers? How many? Sons of Sparta is getting good review scores. I don't think it's going to top any sales charts. I don't think it's at the pedigree of any of the modern Metroidvanias that you can play right now. It falls woefully below the quality of any of the current 2D action platformers or Metroidvania games. Hunter's Gathering looks like a non-starter to me. The Lego Horizon game didn't do that well commercially. It wasn't even a good Lego game. It doesn't have a good user score. I worry that the way they're treating the IP is they're just like, yeah, throw it around, do it. Yeah, take the IP and do it. I think there's some wisdom in taking an existing IP and trying to launch a live service game. I think there's some wisdom there because like you have an established user base, and that established user base and fandom can give you a strong start. But I actually think Bungie spared another one of PlayStation's valuable IPs, The Last of Us. They spared that IP from coming to the market with a stupid, like, backwards idea. We also know there was a God of War live service game that Bluepoint was in the early stages of like scoping out. Bungie may have had a hand in that not happening. We don't know. So I don't know, like the expectation that like, I think the expectation internally at Sony is that they're going to have games that come out that don't work. Like it's going to come out, it's not going to work. It's a live service game that's not going to stick the landing and it's not going to survive. And I think that Sony's okay with that because for every 2 or 3 that do that, you might find a Helldivers 2 that generates an absurd amount of money and becomes a staple name in the public. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's how Sony views it. I don't think Sony views it like, oh, well, we've got Bungie, so everything that we drop should be a hit. I think they're probably still anticipating games coming out and just utterly failing because the live service market is so volatile. In my opinion, the God of War Metroidvania should be very happy that the Castlevania game wasn't ready to launch at the same time. I think you're exactly right. The comparisons would be rough. Milking the series lowers the value of the IP. I completely agree with you, Rise. I completely agree with you. It's like you can devalue the IP when you treat it that way. You can. Well, how long do you think, if ever, Nintendo will make a Mario live service game revolving around the Mushroom Kingdom? Nintendo has shown no interest in doing anything like that. The Highguard website just went down. Yeah, somebody put that in the Discord a little bit ago. Looks like the end is almost here. The God of War game was shadow drop for some reason. I actually think that's the perfect game to shadow drop. It's a $30 Metroidvania with an existing IP. I don't think you need to do a ton of marketing. I don't think you need to like spend months or a month or 2 months or however long, marketing and getting pre-orders. So This doesn't seem like the kind of game you need to do that with. Mario GTA, make it happen. Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo's ever going to really want to do that. To me, they don't seem like the kind of company that's interested in that type of revenue. Now, there are certainly games that they could come out with that have like ongoing elements for like a Pokemon game or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could certainly do that. I just don't know if they're going to have that desire to do something with Mario in particular. I think it would make more sense if they were going to do some kind of an ongoing game or some kind of a perpetual game, some kind of a live service thing. I would expect it to be something from Pokemon. Yeah. Mario GTA would certainly be funny. Going around stealing carts. Yeah. Close we have for live service is Splatoon. It's still a one-time purchase that regularly add new weapons. Yeah, Splatoon certainly demonstrates a potential, but I don't know. Is Splatoon, who made that? Like, does I don't even know what does Nintendo particularly think about it. Like, is that something that I don't even know who owns the property of that. I'm watching someone do I think it's Broken Lobo. No, maybe it's somebody he knows. I've done this fight already. It's like a bird fight in God of War Sons of Sparta. This one actually had good cycles. I actually thought this was one of the better fights I've done because it had good cycles, good measurable telegraphs and things you could do. He does this one like a third time. Yeah, here comes the third. You just have to jump over it. This is one of the fights that I feel like is a little bit more manageable with respect to, you just kind of, you roll through that attack. Each attack, I think increases with frequency the longer you last. Because when you first start out, the purple attack is once, and now he's in the 3. You just sort of cycle through, rinse, repeat. He's doing a lot of damage too, so he must have really spent some time increasing the damage output of his spear. But this is basically one of the more manageable fights with respect to, you just cycle through your dodges and your parries and get your quick punishment windows in here. If fights like this are actually decent in the game because it's just one enemy, some of the tree fights, you don't get to have this level of control and finesse because there's just so much going on in the room. Like, it's nice when you just have like a single target and you can just fight that single target. The sea creature fight was crazy. I don't remember fighting a sea creature just yet. So the developers of Splatoon is Nintendo. Nintendo is the publisher. Okay, so Nintendo does own, it seems like they do own the property. So Splatoon, I mean, you could make an argument that, some semblance of a live service game could land on Nintendo and do well. I don't know if they've demonstrated a large interest in it. Like, I don't know if Splatoon would be a very convincing argument for me to think, oh yeah, I bet they're going to do like a Mario live service game. I just don't know. Don't worry, they're just doing maintenance on the Highguard website. Everybody here was really, really worried and concerned. So we were worried. We weren't sure. We weren't sure what was going on, It's just maintenance, boys. It's just maintenance. Maybe they'll push out another update or a blog post and just blame more of the community. What a wild ride, man. What a wild ride. To see that trailer and to think, well, that's not going anywhere. I always wonder, like, what if I kind of wish I could be maybe a time traveler and like go back in time and somehow get in the room. Like, what did these guys expect? Like when that trailer was playing, where they were like, "Oh yeah, people are gonna be blown away." Like, what did they think was going on when the comments and the downvotes started pouring in? You know what I mean? It was immediate. There was no chance for YouTubers to make videos, no chance for tweets to go viral. It was just immediate. I don't know. Can't believe Lono helped the game fail. I did. We all did. We all did. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please quickly hit that like button. Try and get us to 300 likes. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're going through that ritual anytime you come in to the stream. Yeah, I don't think this is bad reporting. I think, I know Moore's Law is Dead is taking issue here. And I think he's just worried about repeating history. But PlayStation 6 won't use full RDNA5 GPU architecture, it is claimed. So, this is what Kepler is claiming. Now, I believe you could put PlayStation 6 will use a custom RDNA5, solution, similar to how they did a custom RDNA solution in PS5. And so Moore's Law responds, PS6 documentation, which I have leaked pictures of, just like PS5 Pro, literally lists RDNA5. Stop following fake leakers and go to the real source of recent PS6 leaks. Moore's Law is dead. So I think what Moore's Law is Dead is worried about is, again, a repeat of what happened last time, where everyone's going to see this headline, which I don't have a problem with this headline at all, because I do believe it's factually accurate. But what this headline turns into is the PS6 won't have RDNA5. I read the posting from Kepler, and it's just like the PS5 is using custom RDNA too. It's the same exact song and dance. It's the exact same song and dance. It's PlayStation's going to be doing a custom version, and everyone's going to run with, yep, it's going to be weaker, it's not going to be good, it's going to be bottlenecked, it's going to be bad. Like, it's I don't think there's anything wrong with the reporting, but I think we know what the reporting leads to. The reporting gets turned into like this weaponized thing to act like, well, now we know just how bad the next one's going to be. It's going to be this huge disappointment, or what have you. I don't know. I even this morning I felt things going in that direction with some of the comments. Like somebody came in and immediately is like, "Yep, everything's going to PC," and they were like, "Because of Square Enix." And I'm just like, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do this thing where we misrepresent the market? If you have a desire to play and hang out on a certain platform, do it and talk about it. That's all fine. But, don't be spreading false reasons as to why it's better or superior. I don't know. It's easier to just be like, yeah, I like it over here. I like the games. I like this. I like that. Because Kepler has responded, and I don't agree with this person here. Kepler says, I didn't say it wasn't RDNA5. And this person says, you said it wasn't full. Basically the same thing. No, this is quite literally the definition of not the same thing. Like, Kepler said, if it supports 99% of the features of PC RDNA5, it's fair to call it RDNA5, but not full RDNA5. Right? No one would call it not a full Corvette. They would call it a custom. That's why I was just getting ready to say, I think the thing that's going to spare everybody frustration in this is to say, instead of being like, oh, it's not full RDNA5, it's not full RDNA5, just say it's a custom version of RDNA5. Like, that's what they did with the PS5. They had their own custom version of RDNA. They're going to do the same thing with the PS6. I don't know. To me, I think that I don't think anybody is intentionally phrasing it in a way to like mislead anybody. It's just if you phrase it in the negative, it's obviously going to get more attention. Not having full RDNA5 reads a lot more provocative than it's going to be a custom version of RDNA5. Because custom version of RDNA5 sounds like, oh, that could be good. It leaves optimism and positivity on the table. Not having full RDNA5 sounds like a negative. It's like, oh, that's, it's not going to be the full scope. How much lifespan does PS5 have? Life for PS5 games? I think it has plenty of life left, for the main reason that there is a Steam machine launching this year that is going to be slightly weaker than a PS5. And when Valve was questioned on this, he basically said, yeah, most of the people on a PC right now are on a PC weaker than the Steam machine. There's not going to be some limitation in the market. If Steam's bringing something to the market that they feel there's demand for that's weaker than a 6-year-old console, I don't think that 6-year-old console's in any danger. Not full RDNA5 implies lesser. It implies not as good, and that's wrong. I think it's just a technical assessment. I don't think Kepler cares. You think the PlayStation 6 is holiday of 2029? Currently, the current schedule for the PlayStation 6 is holiday 2028. The rumor from Bloomberg, and you gotta read carefully here. You gotta read really, really carefully here. What Bloomberg reported was that those familiar with how Sony operates said that it could slip to 2029. I'm not kidding you. That's the phrasing. That might be frustrating to some of you to be like, why in the world is this making headlines? Why in the world is this making, this huge splash? Like, this is literally the phrasing. This is in my show notes right here, pulled right from GameIndustry.biz's article. People, quote, familiar with the company's thinking, told Bloomberg that Sony may push back the release of its next PlayStation console to 2028 or even 2029, causing, quote, major upset to a carefully orchestrated strategy to sustain user engagement between hardware accelerations. So this is not Sony. This is not somebody at Sony. This is not somebody at PlayStation. This is not a leak. This is not an insider. This is somebody familiar or people familiar with the company's thinking. Someone's like, yeah, I kind of know how Sony sits and moves. I kind of know how they think and they strategize. Yeah, it could slip. That is literally why this is a headline and why this is a story. RAM chips? No. I understand the hardware issue that's leading to this speculation. I understand it. Just to be clear, this claim coming from Bloomberg, this claim being reported, is not coming. It is not coming from someone at PlayStation. It's not coming from somebody at Sony. It's literally somebody who's like, yeah, I'm kind of familiar with how they sit and move. Does that make sense? The mental flips around this RDNA word is going to be insane the next 2 years. Yeah, the Switch 2 could jump prices again. But again, that just comes from somebody familiar with these companies. That's not somebody saying, oh, I'm leaking something official from Nintendo. They're saying, yeah, based on what I know and what I've seen, it could slip again. I'm sorry, the prices could go up, I mean. So don't believe reports or rumors yet. Well, no, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that it could happen. What's happening, though, is if you're not careful, you're going to read these things and you're going to come to false conclusions. I think this is one of the biggest dilemmas of our day, is there are sort of like layers of misinformation. Some misinformation is quite literally by design. It will be said in a way, phrased in a way, okay, in order for people to come to a false conclusion. Okay? And I think that happens fairly regularly. Then there's also what I called headline hunting, which is somebody hunts for a headline, and when they're hunting for the headline, the people writing the headlines know that making it negative, structuring it a certain way, phrasing it a certain way is going to get more clicks. It's going to get more people to pay attention, okay? Because of that, you're going to have people then read the headline, not the article, and come to a conclusion. Now, was that intentional and was that somebody spreading misinformation? No. But the natural telephone game of the internet creates this sort of emergence of misinformation. We will have, for the next year or more, or who knows, within the next week or month, you're going to have people coming in and saying, yeah, the PlayStation 6 is going to suck. It's not even going to have RDNA5 on it. That is going to happen. There are going to be YouTube videos, podcasts, anything you can dream of, think of, or come up with that's going to make people think that. Why? Because a headline said it's not going to have full RDNA5, and because a leaker said it's not going to have full RDNA5. Do you see what I'm saying? Nobody along that chain of command is intentionally spreading misinformation, but the result will be misinformation. Like the creature saying it's not happening, it's not going to happen, it's already happening. Right. I think that's one of the reasons that like Moore's Law is Dead was being cagey about it and being really defensive. He was like, basically like, here we go again. Here we go again. Everybody's going to be jumping into my comments and my videos and ripping me up and saying that it's not RDNA. Somebody says it's closer to RDNA5 than what PS5 had with RDNA2, and Kepler says, yeah. Yeah, even Kepler is saying, yeah, it's going to be closer to the full suite of RDNA5. It's not going to be as stripped of features or whatever that RDNA2 was. So again, I'm telling you, you're going to miss all of that because that's not what people do. They go for the headline, and the headline drives the conclusion, and then the conclusion can be false. It's a common problem. I don't think what Kepler said is incorrect or inaccurate. I don't think that Insider Gaming's reporting is bad. I think what happens is the machine of, tribalist, people who make content who have a bent against a platform or in favor of a platform. I think when that happens, a simple headline gets turned into something else. And it's not like Insider Gaming's fault because they said something factual. Their headline was factual. Now, I don't like when a headline is not factual. That's a debate for another day and a topic of something that's been going on recently that doesn't apply here. But their headline was factual. It's not full RDNA5. Yo, what's good, Big Fry? So I think that's just a common theme, and I think that's one of the reasons that Moore's Law is dead is being like, he's being a little defensive and a little cagey about it because he knows what's going to happen for the next couple of years. Anytime he tries to report on this, leak about this, talk about this, he's going to get people run into his comments and run into his shows and saying, yeah, but Kepler said it's not RDNA5. And it's like, that's not what Kepler said. He said it's not full RDNA5. They have amazing insiders. Good to see developers cater to the PC master race first. This is how it should be. Yeah, again, on that situation, Paul, I don't think Insider Gaming is bringing on people like Gaz to be an insider or or investigative journalist or like reporter or anything. They're bringing him on as a personality, as a character, as an entertainer. They're doing a show called The Iron Lords After Dark. I don't think Iron Lords After Dark is intended to be viewed as some like investigative journalist piece. It's meant to be entertaining. It's just those dudes sitting around having a good time, being after dark. I don't know. I haven't been motivated in any respect looking at Insider Gaming and Tom Henderson and the outfit over there. I've not been motivated to not trust them. If they've decided to do something like this is more in an entertainment, avenue, I think that's totally fine. I don't think they're going to position Gaz as like an insider or like a reporter. They're going to position him as a personality. He's literally under the Moore's Law is Dead trolling. He's a character like Skip Bayless. that's how I view it. I think you can have, different. Now, obviously, if they start grabbing creators who make content that's like toxic and nasty and like dishonest or like intended to harm others and like, I think that's different. I think there's lines that can be crossed in content. I don't have a history and a resume on Gaz. I just know that's more than likely what they were thinking. That would be my speculation, is that's kind of their thought behind it. Is we need to expand beyond just being the insider gaming, news outlet and inside sources. We're going to have, sources of entertainment as well. I wonder if the AI bubble will pop between now and 2028. Maybe help out with the price of the new PlayStation 6. I mean, I think the AI bubble, it feels like it's already bursting to me. I don't know. Nick says, I put enough hours into God of War Sons of Sparta to be able to rank it among other 2D Metroidvanias I've played. Ori 1 and 2, Prince of Persia Lost Crown, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, Cookie Cutter, Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, 117. That's good. That's a good post. Someone took a picture of a screenshot on acid. Yeah, I don't know. How did you make your phone trip balls? Like, how did you do that? I'm about an hour behind, but I don't know if you've seen it. The HighGuard website is down. I have seen that the HighGuard website is down. Some people put that in our Discord, like the minute that it happened. Obviously, probably the beginning of the end for them. I think the player base is getting just too small to be sustainable. You're going to have a minimum player engagement number, that you have to be hitting, to maintain. Thoughts and prayers. Yeah, I mean, it's like, we had this discussion the other day about, like, should you actively cheer for something to do poorly, right? And I actually think that if something is, I think, counter to what I want from a company, then yeah, I want it to do poorly. It's like, no, I don't want you working on that, or I don't want that in the market. I'm very much an entertainment Darwinist. I believe survival of the fittest, okay? I believe that if it's a good piece of property or a good product or whatever, I think it'll survive, right? I think it'll do well. I think you can celebrate that, even if it's not a game for you. Like, I can celebrate Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Silksong and Baldur's Gate 3, games that I didn't go the distance with, but I can celebrate them as great games, even though they're, even a game that's not for me. Like, Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls could come out and dominate and be amazing. It's not for me, and I could celebrate it. But when a game like Horizon Hunters Gathering comes out, or anything else that's like live service that I feel like is like low quality or bad for the IP, I can actively root for and cheer and be like, you know what? I actually kind of hope this doesn't do well. I don't want the company to shut down, but I don't want the game to do well. It's like, no, I'd rather you guys not be doing this, not spending resources and money and time on this. I think there's a disconnect there for me, where I'm looking at the product itself. I don't want a company to go under. If there was some level of solvency and like financial stability for the guys that made HighGuard, so they could stick around and either take a crack at another game or recoup some of the things that they built in the game, some of the mechanics, some of the guns, some of the whatever, I obviously think that would be great. It seems a little unrealistic given how they've already laid off a good portion of the staff, and they're now the website's down, so that's probably I don't know, that's probably unlikely, but don't tell Hilly that Nick pulled a Halo reference. I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe they should go under. I mean, should go under implies an imperative. Oh, the 117. I don't think that was an intentional Halo reference. I think should go under implies like an imperative, like they ought to go under, instead of like they'll naturally go under. Does that make sense? Like if you're the guys in Discord are making me laugh. Hall of Fame, yeah. That is an amazing screenshot. Golly. But if a game is, or company is scamming people, okay, if they're scamming people, then I would want the company to have repercussions, like financial repercussions for that. If a company makes a game that I'm like, man, I hope this game doesn't do well. I don't think this game should be in the market. I don't like it. I don't want them spending time on this, what have you. That doesn't mean I'm like, man, this company ought to die. No. Now that sometimes is the natural reaction of a game not doing well, certainly. But that doesn't mean that those two are one and the same. If it's 2029 and no RDNA5, it's a mistake. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Nobody said it's not RDNA5. It's already happening. It's already happening. Nope, nobody said it's not RDNA5. The leakers are not saying that. But you think that. You've already seen a video or a tweet that's misrepresenting it. It's congratulations. That's a speed run. Or a speed run misinformation. They say 2025. They said 2029. Checking the news feeds here. I'm not seeing anybody really saying anything about Highguard. It doesn't seem like they've said anything, responded, or spoken to the fact that the website's down. It's already happening. I mean, I think that's probably somebody who's just doing it to bait. Like, I don't think they actually think that. They heard us talking about it and were probably instructed to come here and say that for a reaction. They got a big one, I'm sure. Let's see. Yo, what's good, Mike and Mike? Lono, the Highguard fans don't know the site is down. They're too busy playing the game. Yeah, all 700 of them that are playing right now. I literally had a guy jump on my stream from yesterday, and he was like, I really doubt you even played Highguard. I was like, the gameplay's literally on the channel. You can go watch it right now. You can go watch it right now, dude. You would say that. Mm-hmm. Who's visiting the site? Who's visiting the site? People looking for the team page. It's empty. Well, remember when they didn't even have like the right link to the whatever their name is, the developer. They didn't even have a link to the developer when it originally first went up. They're holding the line. Hold door. That's right. A $5 super chat from Forget Me Not. Holtz clearly ain't the guy for Sony. Should he be fired? Jaffe and Colin seem to think so. Plus, people are starting to believe he has a Horizon bias. It's difficult to know, though. Marvel Toko and Fighting Souls is happening under Herman Holst's watch. Helldivers 2 is happening and continuing to happen. I mean, listen, I am really, really tepid and even kind of negative about Horizon Hunters Gathering. But Horizon as a franchise has sold 40 million copies. Horizon Hunters Gathering could make a ton of money. It doesn't mean it lasts for 2-3 years. It could last for 6 to 12 months and then eventually kind of peter out with content. Maybe it just doesn't maintain a player pool, but it could still make money because the franchise is popular and big, and Monster Hunter is pretty popular as well, and people might want something like that. I just don't know. Like, he misfired on Concord, no doubt. I've said that. He is not responsible for the Last of Us situation. That was a Naughty Dog initiative. So if he's responsible for, the God of War live service game that got stopped, and the God of War Metroidvania game, but look at the God of War Metroidvania reception from the users. It has like a 92% on PlayStation. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I like Jaffe and I like Colin. I would need to know why they think that he needs to go. Like, are we jumping to presumption and conclusions? Like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to jump to a conclusion and be too presumptive here. To be like, oh yeah, the Horizon game's going to flop and the God of War game is a flop. The budget for that God of War game is probably virtually non-existent. And it's got close to 6,000 review scores already on PlayStation and a 92%. In their mind, that they're probably like, yeah, that's good. That's good for us. That's just more people on PlayStation playing a piece of property that is ours and having a good time and giving it a good score. I'm super critical of God of War Sons of Sparta, but I'm not willing to sit here and be like, yep, Herman's got to go. I've been critical of Horizon Hunter's Gathering, but I'm like, yeah, get Herman the frick out of here. It's like, let's imagine that it wasn't Herman, it was somebody else. I would imagine we would still have a litany of live service games that probably are destined to fail and destined to not do well. Like, that's just the nature and the volatility of a live service game. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if you can go and be like, yeah, it's totally his fault. Like, yeah, he misfires on Concord, but like, who gets credit for Helldivers 2? And people are like, well, Shuhei Yoshida greenlit that. I'm pretty sure Shuhei Yoshida's name is near Concord 2. I don't think Shu had a perfect record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that should be the expectation that, like, yep, you're gonna have a perfect record, especially with respect to to live service games. Like, and with Horizon Hunter's Gathering. When they greenlit that and started working on that back in 2018, it at that point in time, man, yeah, that's a great idea. Can you fault him that now it's 2026 and people are looking at it and they're like, yeah, no, miss me with that art style, that looks stupid. Was he supposed to have a crystal ball? I'm saying they made mistakes in not honoring the art style and everybody chased the same art style. I think they made those mistakes, but it's like, that's easy to say now. That's a little Monday morning quarterback. That's a little like 2020, hindsight's 2020. It's easy now to look at a game that went into development because everyone's like, dude, Fortnite's cracking off. We should make something like that with our property. A bunch of studios and a bunch of companies did it. Should all the people that greenlit those ideas and projects be fired? Like, I don't know. And also, a lot of the live service push came from Jim Ryan. Do you think Aloy is hot? I don't care about stuff like that. Do you? They started working on it in 2018. I thought it was 2021. The idea was born in 2018. There was footage that leaked in like 2021 that was allegedly from a build and early ideas from like 2018, 2019. I thought it was 2021 Trill, and then reports started coming out that the idea was born and started earlier. Jaffe unloaded on Sons of Sparta on Sacred Symbols last night. He had valid points, to be fair. It's like they're ashamed of Kratos and trying to rewrite the character with this teen-rated game. You can't rewrite the character. It's a prologue and it's canon to the existing game. So Kratos is still going to do all the stuff that he did. He's literally going to do all the stuff that he did in God of War 1 through 3. If they start changing the stories in God of 1 through 3, then we can start to say that. But I don't think a prequel can rewrite a character. How do you do that if he still is going to do all the stuff that happens in 1 through 3 in 2018 in Ragnarok? Like, he certainly is more contemplative in Valhalla at the end of Ragnarok and is thinking differently about everything that he's done. Herman was also the studio head when they released Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon 2, and the one that Kojima, and got Kojima to use their engine. Yeah, like, does Herman Hulse get any credit for, like, literally one of their most successful new franchises and IPs in Horizon, 40 million some copies, and then, leveraging the relationship with Kojima and the Decima engine? Like, that's what I mean. You can't look at Herman Hulse in a vacuum, and I think that's what people are trying to do. They're like, yep, fire him. He's had some stinkers, and it's like, okay, yeah, he thought too big on Concord. That's fair. But you also have to see what was happening at Concord with the toxic positivity and the fact that they could have easily been selling him a bill of goods. I think Bungie did the same thing. I think Bungie overestimated their value and oversold their company, which is why I think PlayStation's probably eager to gut the leadership over there. Santa Monica better not censor the God of War remake trilogy, or that's going to run into all kinds of problems. Yeah, I don't know. As far as the censorship angle goes with like the God of War games, I don't know why they would do that. They have plenty of games on their platform right now where you can do all kinds of stuff. Did they ask CD Projekt Red to like censor The Witcher 3? Like I don't know. I don't know if there's a history of PlayStation being like, yeah, we can't have sexy times in our games. So Marathon, will we be trying it out? Yeah, I mean, the thing with Marathon that's interesting is how many people are really, really upset at my coverage, which they conveniently ignore everything last year that I was dead on right about. All of the things I said about the game, that it was a minimum viable product, that it was an alpha, that it wasn't ready, that it needed to be delayed, and that the art theft was really going to hurt it. That all ended up being true. The only thing I got wrong was I thought they were just going to quietly cancel it because it was going to be almost impossible to come back from everything that happened last year. Everybody conveniently forgets all of that stuff. And they're like, nope, all that matters is now. All that matters is now. It looks better now, so you're dead wrong. And it's like, okay, that's a convenient, washing of history. But here's the reality. I think that Marathon could do perfectly fine in its opening month. It's a Bungie piece of property. They've been marketing the frick out of it. Okay? But if you go to the Marathon YouTube channel and you look at the Marathon videos, there is a measurable diminishment in public interest. That is the issue. I think much of the public has moved on. I think much of the public wrote them off. They don't like Bungie. There's a huge stigma around Bungie for good reason. I think they're a crappy company and they treat people really poorly. And I think they virtue signal on anything they can, and I think they have no reason to virtue signal. I think they're very corrupt internally, and that's why they virtue signal so much. And so I think there's a stigma around Bungie. Not only is there a stigma around Bungie, there's a stigma around the project because of the art theft. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm good. Arc Raiders is better. I'm already playing Arc Raiders. I think they're going to face that problem. I think they're going to face a problem of a game that feels sweaty and PvP focused, which can be fun for a little while, but I think turns into a meat grinder and pushes people away. I think it's going to feel very heroes and abilities based at times, so it's going to feel very adjacent to Apex, which I think will also turn people away. None of these are reasons that the game's going to flop or fail. I'm pointing out reasons that it's going to be a very, very tough sell. It's going to have a hard time to get momentum. It's going to have a very hard time getting momentum, so that in 6 months, are they going to be able to turn around and be like, oh no, yeah, we have a very vibrant and living player base in Marathon? I just don't think so. People really get in their feels on my comments on this game. And I'm like, I'm not hating the game. I'm not wishing it ill. I'm just telling you what I see. Based on everything that happened, how out of touch they were, how hesitant they were to even give you proximity chat. They're still not giving you a safe pocket. And I don't know. I think those are all major hurdles that they're going to have to overcome. I want to see how you like it, or think it's okay, or not like it. I'm not going to be a good measurement of whether or not the game is fun, though. I don't play games like that. I'm going to be one of the worst measurements of the fun factor. I don't like playing sweaty PvP games. That game's going to be a sweaty PvP fest. And a lot of people have tried to use that as a bias. They're like, well, that's your bias. You just don't like PvP. And it's like, I'm not talking about my bias and what I would enjoy or wouldn't enjoy. I'm making an assessment of what the public generally responds to. The public generally doesn't stay the distance in large quantities with a sweaty, punishing game. They just don't. I also don't think, within the realm of live service, it's easy to capture and keep people. I think that is the single most challenging thing for a live service game. None of this has anything to do with my bias. I'm observing the market and the market trends. Do I need to be really big on PvP and really enjoy PvP to speak to the graveyard of battle royales that have failed? Do I need to be super experienced and sweaty and able to play games that are very Call of Duty adjacent and arena shooter adjacent to speak to like why I didn't think Splitgate 2 was going to make it and why I didn't think X Defiant was going to make it? And surprise, surprise, neither of those games have made it. Like, I didn't have to be a PvP expert or have a strong PvP bias to like make that assessment. So I think when it comes to Marathon, you're not going to want to come to me to be like, is it any good, Lono? Like, I'm going to be the last person to ask about that. I've said from the beginning, I think they could have initial commercial success because they're Bungie and everybody's hyping the game up. Like, all my timeline now is people being like, this game looks so much better. This game looks so much better. That's great. That doesn't mean that people are going to be playing that game in large enough quantities in 6 months to consider it a live service success. The other thing is Bungie needs steady revenue. They lived off of the teat of Destiny 2 for a decade. Like, they're too big as a company. I don't think Marathon's going to generate enough money for them to live off of it. So it's like, what are they going to do if the numbers aren't strong enough? And what are they going to do about like Destiny 2 numbers are dwindling as well? I like your takes. 90% of the time I still haven't touched Arc Raiders. Yeah, I mean, Arc Raiders isn't for everybody. I just think Arc Raiders is a double-edged blade. I think Arc Raiders could potentially get people to, you know, try Marathon because they're like, hey, you know what? Extraction's pretty fun. I actually kind of like Extraction. I had fun in Arc Raiders. I'll go try that Marathon game out. I think they could easily get people to try it. But I also think Arc Raiders is a double-edged blade where people are going to say, yeah, I don't need to try that out. I have an Extraction shooter that I really like. Or when they go play it, they're going to be comparing Marathon to Arc Raiders. And I think a really, really quick turnoff to people who have been enjoying Arc Raiders is how sweaty Marathon's going to be and how the hero abilities show up. I don't know. Is Destiny 2 male or female? It doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't really matter, does it, Tommy? I'm not sure I can get behind those gun models. I think they look kind of dumb and blocky. I think they look recognizable, Jakob, and I think that's probably the more important aspect. Right? It's probably more important that it's like memorable and iconic. You know what I mean? Hang on a second. Oh, I don't want that. They're offering codes for something with Wu Chang, and yeah, I had my fill of Wu Chang. I beat Control last night. Awesome game. Can't wait for the sequel. It's good, isn't it? I think the hero abilities in Extraction shooter is going to rub people the wrong way. I think it's a double-edged blade, Q Patrick, because if you go back to like my coverage of Concord, one of the things I said about Marathon, and this is before Concord even came out, I said I think Marathon has a better shot. I still thought Marathon was a bad idea, same as I think that like Fair Games is a bad idea. But I was like, Marathon is the one in the group that has a shot because they're bringing hero shooter vibes, hero shooter ideas to the Extraction shooter. And I know all the Marathon fans get really upset and they're like, it's not a hero shooter. It's not a hero shooter. Sure, whatever you got to say to justify the fact that a guy can see through walls and send a drone around the corner to make all your loot drop out and then you're frozen in place. Yeah, that's if that's not hero abilities, sure, whatever you want to call them. They're shells and they're shell abilities. Okay, great. That's what everybody's going to say when they're frustrated because they died of wall hacks. I think it's a double-edged blade. I was like, well, yeah, you're bringing the hero elements to Extraction, which could make the game unique and fun. It also is a very, very quick exit for people because they're like, frick this. Like, if you get killed in a way that feels like cheesy, corny, abilities-based, it's very, very easy for you to say, yeah, I don't like that. That didn't feel good. Fair Games is still happening. I think they've quietly shuttered it, but we just haven't heard about it. I think they need to move that team on to something else, personally. Is it shade that they have something the same day as Marathon? Oh, is the same day as the Server Slam? They're calling it Shrouded Sky. I don't think it's shade. I think Arc Raiders is playing the game. Right? Arc Raiders is playing the game. They know for a fact that there is a portion of their player base that's going to pay attention to a Bungie game and play a Bungie game, especially when you do like a preview stream thing with the Burnt Peanut. They are 100% playing the game. They know that people are going to be like, yeah, man, I'm going to go check out that Server Slam. I'm going to go see what this Marathon game's all about. It's a little bit harder to do that when there's something cool and exciting happening in Arc Raiders. Even if it's just a percentage of the player base, even if it's just a percentage, and you get them to kind of stick around and play Arc Raiders instead, that to Embark is probably well worth their time. Could we get 13 more likes on the video, y'all? Let's get to 300 likes. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel today. Make sure and check your renewals and your primes as well. I want to make sure you guys get credit for those. Appreciate it very, very much. What are the odds that one shell and tactic set becomes meta and that's all people do? I have zero confidence in Bungie's ability to have a balanced meta with all the abilities. I have zero confidence. There is absolutely no reason to think. Why would you think they can balance anything? They've been rubbish at it for years. Even if you just look at PvE, like the balance in PvE, they've been rubbish at it. They're not good at it. Listen, I don't even know if you can be good at it, to be honest with you. I honestly don't know if you can even be good at it. I think balance in that type of environment is incredibly difficult. For Loop has more promise than Fair Games. I actually agree with that. I think For Loop could be fun, and it could be unique and entertaining. I don't think it's going to ever hit the thresholds of like a Helldivers. But again, I think PlayStation's okay if a game like that can hit its stride and live for a couple years, generate some revenue, get a decent player base. They're probably fine with that. If you look at the expectations they had for Helldivers 2, I think PlayStation has pretty low expectations for a lot of these games, which I think in their mind is totally fine. They're kind of throwing low risk, low cost things at the wall and like kind of hoping that they stick. But yeah, I think Fair Games just sounds like garbage. Like I just can't imagine anybody a competitive heist game, and then they changed it to some kind of a Fortnite battle royale game where you're heisting, and then they did one test session that didn't go well, and like the lady in charge left or something. Like, do you think the PlayStation 6 is coming out next year? No. Nice to see you. Good to see you. The PlayStation 6 is likely not coming out anytime earlier than 2028 holiday. That's the earliest we see it, I think, at this point. It could slip out of 2028 and into 2029. With the current situation and the RAM crisis, and now they're going after hard drives, and, you know, just the fact that the GTA 6 release date hasn't happened yet, and, like, Call of Duty hasn't left behind the PS4, they're probably in no hurry, honestly. They're fine to have a couple more years to get the PS5s in circulation. The 4-loop character animations felt bad. They did, but I don't know. True balance is basically impossible in the age of YouTube and Twitch. Any imbalance will be found and communicated to the community quickly, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, metas spread like a disease. Like, metagaming takes over in those games so incredibly fast. So incredibly fast. You know? I think in general, you know, if you're making a game like that, and I've talked about this with Helldivers, you almost have to embrace the chaos. You almost have to embrace the chaos. And I don't think you can do that in a competitive game, a game that's sweaty and a game that's like PvP focused. You cannot embrace the chaos. The people that you're trying to appeal to will hate that. They will hate that. Why do you think they talk PS6 when they know that the PS5 and the GTA 6 will feed families? It makes sense that they don't want to talk the new system. I was trying to tell people that, Jakob, when people are like, oh, no, the PS6 is coming in 2027. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. They're going to be able to all next year sell PlayStation 5s just because of GTA 6. Like, almost nothing needed. Just keep distribution up. Sony plans to minimize the effect of the rising PlayStation 5 memory costs by boosting software and network service revenue, according to the CFO. Hopefully they can do that. Hopefully they can offset those rising costs by selling a bunch of GTA 6 and Wolverine and Call of Duty. You know what I mean? They make a lot of money on COD. They're going to make a ton of money on GTA 6. Maybe that can offset the rising costs so they don't have to. The last thing I want to do is they do not want to increase the cost of the PS5 again, especially on the eve of GTA 6 releasing. No issues with the PS6 not launching until 2029. I like it 2030 even better. Yeah, I don't think it hurts the consumer one bit. Like I don't think that's an issue because they'll just have a longer period of time to make good games for, the PlayStation 5. And with the Steam machine coming, I think there'll be a very, very, there'll be good reasons. Very, very good reasons to just make really, really good games for the existing hardware that's out there. Sony confirmed console prices won't increase, but PS Plus will. They said, where do they say that PS Plus is going up? I didn't see that. I mean, maybe that's one way they plan to make more money on the service revenue, is they plan to increase the price. Wu Chang DLC? I think so. I have no desire to go back to Wu Chang. I didn't like it all that much. I made a review of it. I gave it praise where it was deserving of praise. I criticized it where it was deserving of criticism. And it was virtually impossible to go back to because it just did not run very well. When you play like a really optimized game like Death Stranding or Yote or Death Stranding 2, and then you go back to a game like that, it's awful to go from such a polished, I don't know. It was like playing Death Stranding 1 and then they updated they updated Black Myth Wukong. And I went and I tried it, and it was like, no. When you play a game that is doing what it's supposed to do, and it runs well, and it's polished, and then you play a game like that, it's just like, yeah, no, I'm good. It looks like doo-doo in comparison. Can't do it. It looks like a slideshow. 2030 is too far. 2029 is stretching as is. The current schedule, okay? The current schedule is holiday 2028. It could slip again, but I don't think we're going to hear about that until literally the year that they announce it. If they announce a PlayStation 6, in the summer of 2028, they could be ready to announce it and decide, nope, we're pushing. We're going to push to next year. That's the latest they could make that decision. As it stands right now, the PlayStation 6 is slated for holiday 2028. Mike Straw reporting that Clickout Media bought The Escapist in June of 2025. At the time, it was only said that the private investor had purchased the outlet. 8 months later, this. Well, there you go. It's unfortunate. We need 5 more likes on the video, y'all. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. Go through that ritual every time you come into the stream. It is super, super helpful. Hitting those like thresholds. Is it me or the PS6 SoC is kind of done now? If they release it 3 years later, cannot be good if they delay it 1 year max? No, I actually argued against that this morning. I don't think that's compelling or true because the PlayStation 6 is not setting its sights on being a big hardware jump, and this is also affecting the entire industry. So everything is going to feel a similar slowdown and pain. And I also think what's going to make the PlayStation 6 shine is going to be the neural arrays and the PSSR and the AI and all of that. And all of that can just get better with time, as we're going to get a PSSR update this year for the Pro. So no, I don't think that that's true. Like the entire industry is going to feel this. It's not just unique to PlayStation. So I don't think like the PlayStation 6 is going to hit the market and people are going to be like, what a outdated piece of crap. We're all going to be used to playing on PS5s and Steam machines and the Switch 2 and mid-level PCs. Does that make sense? You're not going to have like some alternative somewhere else where you're like, oh my gosh, look at how strong and amazing this is in comparison, and that thing's a piece of crap. You also have to understand like the rising cost is going to affect everybody. So like, let's say, this Magnus, hits. And it's obviously going to be stronger, but it's also then going to be more expensive. Right? So, because of that, I would think, if you're looking at the state of hardware at that point and the state of cost at that point, PlayStation's not going to be like oddly out of step with everything else. Magnus will be expensive. Steam Machine's going to be whatever price it is, and it's not going to be that strong. If you're wanting to buy pre-builts and PCs and you're wanting to build your own PC, it's not going to be cheap. So the vast majority of the market is going to stay right where it is. People on mid-level PCs are going to be right where they are. Mid to low-level PCs are going to be right where they are. People are going to be on PS5s, Pros, Switch 2s, handhelds. You see what I mean? Like I don't think so. I don't see the PS6 being some like massive out of step thing if they slips by a year. Like let's say right now it's slated for holiday 2028. So not next year. I think we're going to get a better version of the PlayStation Portal this year. A PlayStation Portal OLED is coming this year. Next year there'll be a handheld, right? And then after that, so next year's 2027 handheld, a genuine handheld, not a Portal. And then late 2028 they drop the PS6. I don't think it'll be some like weird out of step ancient weak device. Yeah, Marathon dropped a new trailer called Death Awaits, and I'm just going to show you all here. John Marathon isn't real, he can't hurt you. Yeah, they continue to top out. Their promotional videos continue to top out in the 200,000 to 300,000 range. They can't even get to 500,000 anymore. I don't know, man. I don't know. Looks better. Looks like they're taking good input under advisement. You know what the biggest risk now is? I think the biggest risk for Marathon now is the level of bandwidth it took to even get to this point. Like, did they throw the entire company at this? Was it like an all hands on deck, absolute panic? We need everybody. We need absolutely everybody to get this thing out the dadgum door, which means it has to generate so much revenue to justify all of that. I don't know. They can't even get 500,000 views on their promotional materials anymore. The Server Slam is the next true test. If they're hoping to turn the tide of momentum and consumer inertia and public interest, that Server Slam's just going to have to absolutely cook. It's going to have to be tectonic and seismic to the point that it's changing people's minds the way that like Arc Raiders did with its Server Slam. If that doesn't happen, that's trouble, because that is a lot. It's, as far as I can tell from everything I'm looking at with Marathon, the level of improvement that they've been able to achieve, boy oh boy does that feel like every single available person is involved. Like every single person at that company. You know what I mean? Like they grabbed everybody. They got the janitor working on that dadgum game. I don't know. Biggest risk is the game is still pay to play. I actually don't think pay to play is the challenge it once was. I think that mentality has changed a little bit with the success of Arc Raiders and Helldivers 2. My issue for Marathon is when the casual player watches all these trailers, it doesn't come across as a PvP game. I think a lot will feel duped. You know what's funny, Hattigan? I remember before Destiny 2 came out, I said that. I said that the Crucible trailers, the opposite actually is what I said. The Crucible trailers, they really made it seem like the Crucible was going to be like this high-octane, really intense environment. And then Destiny 2 Crucible at launch was terrible. 2 years, love your stuff. Keep it going. Thank you so much, Grubby. We are we're gonna slip pretty far behind pace. So make sure you guys are celebrating your renewals and your primes. And Zach Busey is reporting that Twitch hype trains can now be started by a single person gifting a large number of subs at once. Previously, it required at least 2 different people. See, I wish that you could not have those happen unless you wanted them to happen. We keep having hype trains start on Twitch at like 2 minutes into the stream, and it's like, no, I need that to happen later when everybody's here. Yo, thank you, Grubby, for using your Prime sub as well. Double dipping. I appreciate the support. Speaking of which, we do have something that we need to do over there. We have a how to make a killing the stream is obviously going to be, this segment is going to be sponsored on Twitch by How to Make a Killing. It's in theaters February the 20th. It stars Glenn Powell, Margaret Qualley, Zach Woods, Topher Grace, and Ed Harris. It's going to be suspenseful, entertaining, intense, and action-packed. I have a trailer I can show you. They didn't put it actually in there. I've got to go here to get it. I have a trailer I can show you guys specific for this. And it's super helpful when you guys, getting these. I can't see the entire ad. They have like an enormous Dropbox URL for me to share this. Let me see here. I can't see how long it is. Oh, it's 56 minutes. Finished Control yesterday. What a final mission. I really, really like Control. I just thought the DLCs, the DLC bosses were no good. Okay, so this is How to Make a Killing.
Hi.
Wow.
So are you living in the city now?
A little outside of it.
Whatever happened to the Red Fellow Fortune?
I'll inherit it. Someday. There were 7 of them. 7 awful people. You're still poor, asshole! Between myself and $28 billion. Who are you? I'm back here. Was it that easy? Been occupied.
With what?
Occupations.
Well, call me when you've killed them all.
Well, there you go. February 20th. If you like a good revenge story, there you go. That's Andy McDowell's kid. There you go. That is, I can't get out of full screen here. What the heck is going on? I literally can't get out of full screen. Dropbox has completely hijacked my my browser. There we go. I literally couldn't close it. It would not escape. It wouldn't F11. It wouldn't whatever. An ad is running on your channel? Huh? Please try again later. Are you freaking kidding me? I hit the button and it didn't work. Well, I'm not watching or getting it again. That's your fault, not mine. Let me go back in here and do this again. Stream manager and Manage bounties. No, it's not a bounty. That's right. Manage sponsorship tools. Start. There we go. Okay. We already watched the trailer for, what's it called? How to Make a Killing. Yeah, How to Make a Killing. February 20th in theaters. We just watched the trailer for it. It's like a revenge story. I actually think it looks kind of funny. And looks like you can have a good time with it. But that is, that's a sponsor segment that we were able to do. Thank you to the videos, the trailers, the movies, the games that do that. It's always nice to have those as an option on the channel. Broken Surprise says 3 years, time flies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, getting us to 65. And then a $2 super chat from Dan. Finished Control yesterday, final mission. Oh, I already read that. Thank you so much for that super chat, Mr. Dan. I appreciate that so much. Man, oh man. How do I make it to where I can't be added in the disc? I wish I could make a timer. When I get added while I'm streaming, it's so frustrating because I get the little pop-up and I have to click on Discord to make it go away. Like, I'm actively looking at chat. Like, y'all don't need to at me. I constantly get the little chingering at the bottom and I think I've been DM'd, and it's not. It's just somebody adding me. They're pushing him as the next big thing. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't Marathon a PvPvE game? That's what was mentioned in the new hype videos. It's PvPvE. It's looking like it's going to have a heavier leaning towards PvP compared to Arc Raiders. Yes. Hadigan says, you don't die in PvE games. You are going to the general public giving way too much credit. Hang on. Eugene says, it says death awaits. There's no way somebody watching the trailers and see PvE centric. Oh, Hadigan says, I see this trailer, can easily see how a casual crowd would take this as a PvE game. Yeah, I don't think so at all. Go to notifications. Notifications. Notify me when someone reacts to my messages. People know streaming. No, that's like the sounds. I just don't want the little number to appear. No way, they've marketed it. Yeah, they've really. I don't think you can claim that Marathon is like marketing itself as like a PvE game. I haven't seen that at all. I don't think I've seen that at all. I don't think I've seen any indication that anybody's going to get confused about that. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to get confused by that. No one's going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I thought this was going to be a PvE game, and it's got a bunch of PvP in it. I just really don't think so. They literally, like, one of the first developer things they did when, like, Ziegler, Joe Ziegler did a little video about it, like a direct, something from them, like, I guess you could call it like a developer direct or whatever. He's like, yeah, this is a game. This game's not for everybody. It's going to be intense. Like, it's going to be stressful and intense, and you can lose your stuff. And it's just like, I don't think what you're saying makes an ounce of sense, Hadigan. I don't see it. I don't know how anybody could watch any of the marketing for Marathon and get confused about, like, going to be a PvE game. It could be. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying people could confuse it. Where's the let's just watch the trailer and test and let's just test the theory here. So we got a minute long trailer here. Okay, so they're pushing in. There's a dead body. Got guys up here. He hides. Okay, from the creators of Halo and Destiny. Got to get that in there. So he's sneaking around these bad guys. He kills that guy with a melee. Kills this guy with a shotgun. Kills that guy with a shotgun. Okay, he's got a drone. Yeah, homie, I don't have a clue what you're watching. Did you watch something else? Or are you talking about this trailer? All I'm seeing is PvP. Use category, only mentions nothing, all messages. Notification settings. How did you do that? Did you do that on the individual server? Oh, here, notification settings. Only mentions nothing. There we go. Thank you. Like, I see when you guys at me, and like, I'll obviously read what you're saying. Like, I don't need the little chingering, like, little number at the bottom. Like, I don't need that. There's no enemy tags in Arc either. Time will tell. We'll see the feedback post-launch. Okay, I think that's done. Sponsorships. Manage. Completed. Okay, cool. All right. I don't have an upload for you guys today. We're going to go ahead and head to the green room. You got to be a member to come to the green room. Appreciate you guys so much for the support, for the likes, for the renewals and all of that. And great reason to be a member. Hit that join button on YouTube or a membership over there on Twitch. You can come with us to the green room. And thanks so much. We will see you guys tomorrow.